pass those recommendations on. So with that, Ms. Sid?
Yes, thank you. And first and foremost, I wanted to bring up the ordinance that was adopted back in 2004, which has vision, mission, and value statements. Back when, and so that's why we're revising this to make it more up to date. The vision statement that was brought up on this through this ordinance and was adopted back in the day is in the, as you can see it there. And if you want, I can read it to the on the record, if that helps. In 2004 and the immediate years to follow, Dunnellon will continue to be a city of great natural beauty with a historic downtown center. Dunnellon is dedicated to preserving and enhancing its historic, cultural, economic, environmental, and recreational assets while planning and building for the future. Dunnellon celebrates its diversity in a friendly, small-town atmosphere supported by its citizenry who demonstrate a strong sense of community spirit. Capitalizing on this spirit, the city will strive to provide a safe environment composed of strong neighborhoods with excellent parks and public spaces while fostering a supportive economic environment. We, as citizens of Dunnellon, should and will work together diligently to maintain Dunnellon as a historic river town. And so we had started to create a draft vision statement. And this vision statement was ultimately created to thinking of Main Street. It was brought up in front of the planning board, and there were recommendations to update the vision statement, and this is just in a draft form. But I would like to read it to you all so that we're all on the same page. The city of Dunnellon will be a rich, eco-friendly community with a healthy and sustainable natural environment containing superior quality and appropriate scale while protecting its historic features and offering Southern hospitality filled with heritage, history, and small-town charm. Transparency, responsiveness, professionalism, and integrity in government dealings with outstanding citizen involvement and participation in community development will be our pride. We strive to have a business-friendly environment to promote current and future growth while protecting our extraordinary first-class quality of life amenities, natural spring and parks. We strive to enhance vitality within city streets and infrastructure for more attractive and safe neighborhoods. We strive to make the city of Dunnellon a regional destination, from paddling along the Rainbow River within its abundant wildlife to great dining, shopping, and entertainment experiences in a vibrant and historic downtown. Visitors will feel welcome and residents will be proud to call the city of Dunnellon their home. And so for the purposes of this meeting, we have created kind of a worksheet to kind of guide where we want to go with this. As far as the vision statement is concerned, and I think it would be just prudent to tackle one at a time. The vision statement should comprise certain characteristics and components and elements that bring it together. And so what we think you would need to take into consideration is in revising this vision statement is that you need to have a future aspiration of the organization, define the dream, the long-term goal, and the unconditional direction where we want to go. To create a business document that states the current and future objectives of the organization. The vision must align with its mission, strategic planning, culture, and core values. So all this is going to intertwine once we have it all set up. We need to have specific components taken into account, and that is, of course, our residents, our resources, our attractions, our markets, technology, because nowadays everything is technology based pretty much. Quality of life that we want for the city, the philosophy that we hold, concern for public image, and concern for employees. The elements that should be taken into account are, again, the value, the inspiration, the plausibility, and the specificity. So these are all really important when you're taking into account what you're going to be writing in this vision statement. The format needs to be meaningful. It needs to incorporate everything, or at least everything that you want, the most important things that you want to focus on this vision statement. It needs to help us understand what needs to be incorporated and what we want the city to become in the future. What are some of the key elements to focus on and what the people want? And that is why we're having this public meeting. It would show the comprehensive plan. It would hopefully show the comprehensive plan in a way that we can cater it in our website, on our website, and refer to it as a presence in our website, and of course be tied into technical grants that we would have to get to get everything accomplished. I don't know that you would want to do surveys to get information to compile for this visioning statement, but I have the worksheet that we created at our department basically has questions that pertain to specifics of the visioning statement, and the first question there is, where are we headed? So it's just a brainstorming of ideas. Where are we headed? Where do we want to go? And so we have put out some questions, and our idea is that you take these questions home, think through, answer these questions, and bring us information. Bring us enough feedback with the answers to these questions that we can put together the vision statement for you all. So this meeting is basically for you to get this information, take it home, put some time into it, maybe an hour or two, to answer these questions, and then bring them back to a second meeting so that we can compile all the information and have a final work for you to review, because I think that's the best way for you all to bring input into this. So questions are, what problem does my organization seek to solve? Why do I believe this problem needs to be addressed? Does this problem matter to other people? Do I honestly believe we have the answer to that problem? Are there changes I believe my organization can make? What are the greatest strengths of my organization? What is my dream for this organization? How would things be different in my dream if it came true? Does my dream connect on a personal level with others? And so,
Well, I have a couple of questions and comments, if I may, and this may be from Mr. Hand. Mr. Bracken had commented different times at different meetings how important the mission statement was, and that there have been legal cases that had been decided at some point because of language in a mission statement. But then I see that we're looking at mission statements and the value statements and vision statements. Do we typically incorporate those three when we're looking at, to add that to the comprehensive plan, or are they three separate statements that we would be working on?
I think that's really up to you and what you want to see, because when you look at Florida statutes, there's a minimum of what must go into a comprehensive plan. But that doesn't mean that you can't incorporate additional statements that are guiding. And of course, every plan is a little bit different and has statements in there that go beyond Chapter 163 requirements. So if it provides clarity and the direction that the city needs to have these separate statements that are not technically part of the mission statement, that's fine. But if you want to incorporate them into the mission statement, that's fine too, as long as it satisfies the legal requirements that Mr. Brackens was covering when he addressed that.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. And I have a second question for Ms. Sid. On the revised mission statement that we had seen, I think we had worked on it, but now I think you're going to incorporate that into Main Street instead of using that for our vision, or it can be both?
No, the Main Street will have its own vision statement, and it's going to be separate from the city's vision statement.
Okay, but what you showed us is what we had started to work on before we discovered there was this ordinance since 2004.
Right. I had, what I had brought up to planning was kind of a start to the vision statement that I was thinking of incorporating into for Main Street, but because we then found out that you wanted to revise the actual vision statement for the city, that's why we're here. But
well, the biggest difference that jumped out at me when we were looking at the verbiage from the 2004 ordinance, it talked about the historic downtown center as a focus. Fast forward now 18 years, in the vision statement we had worked on, we were talking about protecting the historic features, but greatly expanding what we saw as a vision for our town and not focus just on the historic center. So I would think that in that vein, that's where we would probably, I'm just making a suggestion, go back to where we had, I think it's called Distinctively Dunnellon.
yes,
That we had, which was a wonderful document that they worked hard and put on, and take the elements from that, because we had a lot of public participation for that. And we took tours, and this room, we had several public meetings, the room was full, and so they had their input. So I think that would be a starting point, that we would go back and revisit those documents, see what the people had asked for at that time. But I really like the draft that we just looked at again, that we've worked on. I think it's very comprehensive. So I think that's a good start. And I'll shut up and get other comments.
And we have a question. I wanted to know, I want to repeat back what I heard you just say. You're saying that we should take this worksheet home and complete it.
yes.
And when you say we, are you talking about everyone in this room, or who are you talking about?
Everyone in this room. Everyone in this room that wants to have an input in this vision statement.
Okay. And then we should bring it back, and we're going to talk about what our results were from our worksheet.
Right, then we'll do a
Compile it.
brainstorming session, and then we'll have a final meeting to go over the results.
And then after we do that, then we can from that create a vision statement. Is that what you're saying?
We're going to be creating the vision statement based on all the input that you give us. So the final draft will be on our third meeting, pretty much.
Right. Personally, I think it's a good idea, but I would like to be much more expansive in our gathering of ideas from our citizenry, not just the people that are in this room. Because in my opinion, the vision statement, from what I learned at the workshop, was that it guides the master plan development and future expenditures. And I think that's so important. And to include the people that not only are in this room, but the people that not only live in the city limits, the 7 square miles, but also people that call Dunnellon home, like Rainbow Springs, like Rainbow Lakes Estates, to get what they want, because I think that is crucial in taking what we have so far and getting it out there to the public to let them say, what is our vision? I just feel it's crucial, rather than just limiting it to the people that are on the boards. That's my feeling. So,
Well, this is a public meeting, and it was publicly advertised, so when I refer to everyone in the room providing input, it's because basically this is our public meeting.
yeah,
So
but
there's only so much we can do. The other option would be for us to conduct another survey,
yeah.
which it would take a lot more time, but that is up to you to decide.
In my feeling, it would be worth the time and the creative input of ways that we can get this information from our citizens, rather than just saying, come to a meeting at 4 o'clock on Wednesday or Thursday, and then they don't show up and we say, well, they don't care. I think we've got to go further than that, because I think it's worth it to take the time to really reach out to citizens, in my opinion. And I think we're not in a huge rush. Let's take some time and really get it right, rather than just writing down words on a piece of paper. That's my feeling.
Like, state, I just think that the F, G, H, and I are appropriate. The A, B, C, D is like an eye test. The word problem, I don't know for so much need to be calling our quest to improve our city's inner amenities and attract investors and so on, so much as a problem, but I think you could use the word vision. Cross out the word problem and use the word vision. Because this is what we're looking ahead. And it's not so much that we have problems, is how can we improve on what we have with our amenities being people, natural resources, structures of the city, and so on.
Okay. Yes, thank you.
I would just like to point out, if public press at 4 o'clock on a Wednesday is probably not a good time of day.
Agree.
Yes.
Okay, other comments? Yes.
Yes, please. Y'all can just take this one and just pass it around. And I had kind of started my homework early, so I'm glad to know that. And I was doing some research. Vision statements are short and to the point. They're not long paragraphs. They're not all inclusive of everything that you're trying to do. They're the bites of that will lead people to look at other things. So I think that's something that we should look at, is shortening it up, because I mean, you look at all these, I looked at government, I looked at business, and they're all just a few lines. And they say a lot. The words that they use have a lot of punch to them. So I think getting a lot of detail into the vision statement almost limits the vision, because you're pinholing everything into one thing. Even though, I like the word, I like the idea, I just think a vision statement needs to be shorter. And as far as trying to get the word out, I agree with you. I mean, that would be amazing. Definitely can do it on our Facebook page. That's a great place. But again, we are officials, either elected or volunteered to be put on a committee to represent those that live within the city. So they have asked us to help them be our voice. So I agree with you getting their opinions, but we are technically their voices when we ask, questions of them out in public, in Walmart, at the baseball fields, wherever it is we might be. So that's one way that we gather that information, even if they're not sitting here in a chair beside us. They have reached out to us on our own. I'm sure, Ms. Dunn, you get that all the time, just the question you asked me a minute ago. So I agree that we need that information, but to get a survey, and Mrs. Arabelle, sorry, Brenda. It's funny that you said about the document that we all sat here and did. I've torn my house apart. I know it's in there someplace because I wanted to bring it.
Right.
Because that, to me, it's everything. And one big thing, and somebody said it, Regina, you said it, it was in the first one from 2004, 2008, 2004. It says, we as citizens, which means that it's not, like you said, it's not just the people that are in these rooms or attending these meetings, but it's the vision is what we all will be doing. It's not just relied upon the staff to do it and the boards to do it and the council to do it, but it's the citizens to also help us go into the future. So those are my comments. Mr. Mayor?
I wanted to make one more comment, and if that's okay. I think the most important thing that we're doing right now is trying to get Main Street on board. And I think that Main Street has so many resources available for people that serve the Main Street communities, that have also ways to get funding to get their products paid for. I don't see the rush to go ahead and get a vision statement right now, because as one seminar I went to, the guy said it should take 18 months. If you're really going to do it right, why rush? Because to me, we need to involve as many people as we can beg, borrow, and steal to give us their input. And when a private organization in our town did a survey in November of last year, it was less than $1,000 to get the information about ranking the priorities of the voters that live just in the 7-mile area. It was less than $1,000. And from that, we now can make decisions about where we want to spend our money. And let's face it, we don't have much money. And every dollar we spend needs to be guided by citizen input because it's their money. And as far as the outlying areas like Rainbow Springs, in the past, a lot of things have been done to shun them from participating, like the red light cameras, like the sewer thing. They have been told, we don't want you to comment because you don't live in the city limits. And I think that whole approach needs to be changed. And I think that City Council right now is making a great attempt to change that philosophy. And I think it is crucial that we take the time to really do the vision statement right and make sure that we get citizen input. Thanks.
Maybe some more comments? Just a couple of things for Valerie. We're talking about the length. I spent a couple of years working with this board and printing out comprehensive plans and vision statements from different towns, some in Florida, some other states with towns this size. Vision statements, you're right, some of them were a couple paragraphs, but some of them were a page and a half. So they did differ. I think it's more important than the length is to articulate specifically what it is that we are trying to envision for our city. And talking about getting the word out, Georgina and I were talking about that earlier. I think we had better success back when we had the reporter from Riverland News that came to the meetings all the time. Was it Jeff Bryan? Was his name Jeff? When something that was of great importance, you would get a page or page and a half of the Riverland News. So people would read the Riverland News and they knew what was coming up and they would show up and they would participate. Very few people are going on the city's website and trying to look and see when we're having meetings and seeing what the agenda is, unless it happens to be a hot topic and where the word does seem to get around. So we don't have that. So that is, in my opinion, that's one reason we're not getting more participation, because we're not getting, we've lost that medium about getting the word out about what we're doing here. And you're right, if the reason I believe that we're having this meeting now at 4 o'clock is because we have been able to get the people to participate. I still say we're missing the point if we don't go back and pick up distinctly Dunnellon, because that work's already been done. We already had the meetings. We got a grant. A lot of money was paid to do that study. So why aren't we going back and picking that up, dusting it off the shelf and getting back into it and pick those key elements from that, because the public did participate and they did tell us, we even did tours that we had during that. So why, just because we're new and we're letting you know that exists, that's where we need to be starting. That, in my opinion, so, yeah.
If I could all find
And
it
just
house.
I think it's a good idea too, as far as if you just put distinctly Dunnellon in your search bar, it will come up.
Yeah.
And
I
I do want to point something out, and I completely, I'm on board with your idea of going out and getting people's input and everything. Just keep in mind that the more we prolong the review and the more we prolong this whole process, the more money we're going to put into it, not just on attorney's fees, but staff, salaries, and everything. Everything needs to be accounted for when you're doing all these things. It's taking time and money.
Well,
So
I
you
believe
gotta,
we're all intelligent people here. We all have a vested interest. Distinctly, Danella was done. The public did speak very clearly what they wanted to focus on. So I think if we revisit that, and it's really reworking the vision statement that we had, 18 years ago. That yes, we have the historic downtown center, but that's not the focus now. Dunnellon is not the same as it was 18 years ago. We have to encompass other areas.
Why couldn't we do something like both? What you're saying and what I'm saying is get that statement and then put it out to the public and invite the public to comment and rework that statement. But really go for creative ways to get the public involved.
Absolutely.
If it costs us $1,000, well, and I'm not sure that the attorney is really involved in the vision statement that much, is he?
Well,
Attorney fees.
Attorney Brackens was very clear that the public has to be involved in the vision statement. He's also very clear we have to have a minimum of 3 public meetings, so this is the first of 3 public meetings.
and you're going to have attorneys in the meeting.
And he has shared several times with this board different legal cases that the decision came down to the wording of the vision statement. So yes, the attorneys are very important once we get that, because they're the ones that will craft the document so that it will withstand, a legal contest should that happen.
And I feel the easiest and the fastest we do this, the better it's going to be for
Right.
everybody.
So I would say we have things to work with. Let's get to work with what we have. There's always room for improvement. We're not going to get it perfect, but at least get something in place. That's just my opinion, but I'd like to hear from other people.
You haven't date yet for the second meeting
The second meeting, when it is?
for this.
Yeah, it's
It's
a month.
the day of the next workshop, before the workshop.
Okay, so
If-
a month from today.
I mean, it was tentatively mentioned in the last meeting, but we haven't really confirmed with Mandy or anything, so
August 10th?
we would have to,
Yeah, I
verify.
would suggest, maybe you and I, anybody, Brenda, get together and write a column for the Riverland News, get the word out, date, time, and I think what might work if we put the vision statement up on the screen as a Word document in bigger print, and literally go line by line and see what people would like to suggest as far as leaving that line B, that sentence B, that statement B. There's a lot of I'm sorry, the teacher in me's coming out, there's a lot of run-on sentences in it.
Definitely.
Or statements that need to be separated and updated, like they don't use the word, or the word was not used, ecotourism, hub of outdoor activities and so on. So I would suggest we go ahead and edit it line by line and let the public who's sitting out there welcome their input and so on.
I would like to see us go much further than that and really take our time. I don't see the
Yeah, we have 3
rush.
meetings, okay? This is the introductory, 2 could be a draft, 3 finalize it. Done deal.
Right.
That's how business gets done, you have a plan of action.
But is it necessary to do it by August 10th,
We can do it.
7 days from now?
Don't make this
It's not August 10th.
Don't
It's
need to
not
make
August
this
10th.
painful.
It's not August 10th, I said that.
No, no, it's not August 10th. It would be in September.
Yeah, there's a
It would be in September, and it would have to be confirmed through Mandy, because I don't know what the schedule looks like for that date.
And if you're thinking about doing it the same prior to the regular city council workshop, you know, in the same way,
Mm-hmm.
you may want to reconsider that, since people seem to feel like this is too early in the day for people who work to come out.
Right.
You may want to have it at a regular meeting time of 5:30 on a different day. That's just a suggestion if you really want to seek more public participation.
And if you want, we can bring dates to you all for the next planning meeting, and then you can decide what dates, based on what's available, we can have, and then we'll set it up that way.
I had down August 10th as the next meeting.
Yes, but that is for the short-term rental review.
That's our special.
That's the special
And then we're
workshop.
having one on the 16th, correct?
And then you're having your regular planning board meeting on the 16th.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
My view is I'd just like to take some time, because I don't think a month in the whole scheme of things is that big of a lot of time.
But as I said, we're not reinventing the wheel.
Mhm.
We're reworking what we have. We're
Mhm.
taking the updated that we had a rough draft of and working from that. But I still think distinctly Dunnellon is the key. That document's the key, because the people very clearly told us what they wanted for the future, what was important to them, and I think that should be the basis from which we start.
I'm sorry, I came in late. So you're looking at updating which statement?
Well, Dane, well, originally, the attorneys had brought to our attention that it was really important to have a mission statement and make that part of our comprehensive plan. And so we've been wrestling with this over time in different meetings and looking at mission statements from different cities. It wasn't until a few months ago that it was discovered that the city actually had a mission statement. It was written back in 2004. None of us knew anything about it. So we spent all this time and effort, trying to create something that we already have. So now we're sort of doing the 180 and say, okay, here's what we have. What do we need to do to update? What do we need to do to refocus?
But the old one's not on here, right?
She didn't give us a copy of it. She brought up, and we can get a copy. She can get a copy of it to you. The main thing I got out of the original one back in 2004, they were focusing on the historic downtown center. So that was 18 years ago. The one that we had been working on as a rough draft was protecting the historic features, but also encompassing all of the other things and elements that we have for the city that we're trying to accomplish here. But I don't know if you participated in the distinctly Dunnellon when we had it. I believe you did. So my thought is, let's get that off the shelf, dust it off, and get it back in everybody's hands and use that as, you know, a working structure to get this updated. The attorney feels that sooner than later is better, and if Mr. Bracken was here, he could give his reasons, and Mr. Hamm could probably articulate some of those reasons why we shouldn't just keep dragging this on and delaying. So that was.
So to be clear, the vision statement that's in the distinctly Dunnellon that was done in 2019 came from the one that was done in 2004?
No.
Oh, to see that,
Yeah.
2019.
The 2019 had nothing to do with, 2004 was just discovered. This was from a grant,
Yes.
and that was put together, and it was Allison.
So we basically have a vision statement from 2004 and one from 2019.
Well, we have the one for 2004, But for 2019, it's where they went out, they did
Yeah.
the SWOT analysis.
Yeah.
We had several meetings.
Right.
The hall was full. They had large charts and people, they took surveys. We went out and did physical surveys and physical, trips. So that's what I think we need to bring out is that statement, that final document, and take a look. And that would be, in my opinion, our base. I don't think people's opinions have changed that much since that was done. Regarding, yes, sir.
I have a question.
Yes.
So we had a vision statement since 2004 that nobody knew about, nobody's paid attention to, we've done nothing about, and we're going to sit here and create a new one. I understand that. All right, there's going to be another 18 years before anybody looks at it. What are we doing with the vision statement?
It'll be made part of the comprehensive plan, because it was done in
But
one
isn't this
one.
one part of the comprehensive plan?
Pardon me?
Isn't this one part of the comprehensive plan?
But this is going to be like the introduction to the comprehensive plan that we'll be adding that vision.
I just want to make sure we're not doing a bunch of work that's going to be forgotten
Exactly.
about for 20 years and somebody discovers it again.
Yeah, it's, I was a little
And then
disappointed because I
distinctly
spent a lot of
Danella
time.
was- The distinctly Dunnellon guy's the one that wanted to tear this building down and lease this.
No,
That was
no,
Ken
no,
Metcalf.
no,
That was somebody
Not at
else.
all.
That was another guy.
He was later, yes, Yes.
I mean, I love getting broad public participation, but my impression is also that I think the vision statement from 2004 to 2019, I'm guessing they're remarkably similar, and it's my perception over 25 years that most people's wants and needs are remarkably consistent. And, I think you might be able to move rather expeditiously.
I feel that as well. Yes,
I make a comment. Hi, Dr. Myers. How are
And
you? You were part of that 2004 study, I think it was called Riverwalk. Jerry Vaughn was part of that too.
it was all part of the industry.
But you were, from what I hear, you were an active member in that study, that group,
I was there.
right? Right. So I know because I've actually read the document, there's not too many of them. Mr. Vaughn has one, and he let me read it. And you guys
You talking
did,
about the book?
Yes.
For East Pennsylvania?
yes, that goes with that study that I'm referring to, that you and the group, the committee, all the people that, all right? And I have reviewed that, and this goes to Scott Kiefer's point. You guys did a tremendous amount of work and an impressive body of work, all volunteers. And for reasons that I understand, nothing came of it. But a lot of that, what was done, I'm sure, is still appropriate now, the main philosophies. And right now, we're talking about philosophies, a mission statement. So I would say the basic philosophy of 2004 is, like you said, probably remarkably similar. Then we fast forward 18 years or so, and with a $25,000 grant, I believe it was, we get a study done distinctively Dunnellon. And this again goes through basically the same concepts. I'm sure if you compare 2004 and distinctly Dunnellon, you would see a whole lot of the similar things. Then we go a year or so after that. I don't know what this study was called. What was the Metcalf study called?
That was some kind of historic district grant.
Yes,
strategic plan?
Technical assistance grant.
right. So there was a grant there for, I believe, $35,000. So there's another study with all kinds of recommendations of how we can improve. And again, if you went through that document, I'm sure there's plenty in that document that is also in line with what we're trying to do. So this goes to Mr. Kiefer's point. Many people over a long period of time, have addressed this. Good people. Dr. Myers, I would consider him, he put a lot of time in this. And others that we don't know their names anymore, we even forgot to study. But they're still around, and they know the effort they put into it, and they know it led to basically nothing. Then we've also spent twice, not we, but through grants, up to $60,000 on studies, $25,000 for the distinctively Dunnellon and $35,000 for Metcalf, to pretty much cover the same thing. The way I look at it, the work's already been done. Between those three studies, you have everything you need to at least get the process started. And to go with Chairwoman Arbel, in particular, the distinctively Dunnellon was very top-heavy on public participation. I came to those meetings in this room, and this room was three-quarter filled with people who very openly and enthusiastically participated and gave their recommendations, what they thought was important in the city, and how they would triage things in the way that we could be most effective. So it's been done. And it is very frustrating when people do the work, money is spent, and it's good work, and it's money well spent, and then the work is put on the shelf because there's no one to champion it. A lot of these things don't happen all the time because there's a big group of people that do things. That's helpful if there are. But a lot of times things happen when it's one or two people's passion. They champion it. They push it. They keep bringing it up. They go for it. And I haven't seen anybody, or if they did, maybe they just died on the vine, really champion it. For instance, the Blue Run Park Ordinance was something that City Council thought was very important. It's very important to me. I really pushed and championed that. Right now, the codes that we're trying to enforce, Georgina and Commissioner Dunn have pushed that. They have kind of championed that. So these things get done when you identify certain individuals that are really going to put in the time. To just have I always say, a good meeting is nothing more than a good meeting. It's what do you do with the information you gain from the good meeting when the meeting's over with? What do you do with it? And that's what I'm finding here. A lot of good work has always been done and has been done, but nothing has been done after that. And I would say that would be the challenge as much as anything, is take the work that's been done, add a little flavor to it, a little salt and pepper to it, get it up to date, and make sure it's championed, make sure it's followed through. It's just not your work, our work isn't put on the shelf for a council or a body 5 years from now saying, whatever happened to that group, that work that those people did in 2022? Oh yeah. So that's what I'm saying. It's just a matter of how do you take a concept and how do you put it to work? And that's really the challenge.
I really feel like our citizens, though, have led the charge on those two things that you just talked about, Mayor White, was the the short-term rental ordinance. A citizen spent his own money and legal fees to come up with this plan to put regulations on short-term rental. Whereas our staff really said, no, you can't do that because of the laws of the state of Florida. We can do something. The Blue Run Park ordinance was Bill Bibbert and you were, intertwined trying to make this happen. So I think it's crucial that our citizens get involved and tell us how we can revitalize our commercial and our residential areas. So I just think citizens are so important because we have such a stake. We live here and we drive up and down the roads every day. And we see the opportunities, as Jan said, they're not problems, they're opportunities. Because our town has so much potential that has not been realized, and it's just a shame that it hasn't. But it is a big opportunity. So, my comments.
We have 8 minutes left of this meeting, so my suggestion would be, I like Ms. Covey's suggestion, is to get the word out, a well-crafted article that would go into the paper, and once we decide when a next appropriate date and time would be, that we get the distinctly Dunnellon, and that we have that to work as a basis. We've got the revised vision statement that yes, it needs work, but I think the main ideas are very good, and that we can come back at this next meeting, hopefully get more public participation, and get the bulk of the decisions made, what needs to be in that, and then that third meeting, at least we have it. Not saying 5 years from now, if we have time, we want to revisit, change it, whatever, but we have something. And that, you know, and as Mr. Mayor said, there's been a lot of money spent, the public has been out, they have spoken, but we haven't gone forward with any of it. So that would be my suggestion. Mr. Hen, did you have any suggestions on that, that process? Does that sound reasonable to you?
That does.
Okay.
And I'll check with Patrick what he advised on the procedure, because I think that's mainly in compliance with Main Street. So I'll check with him and make sure we're on the same page.
All right.
Dr. Myers had his hand raised.
Madam Chair, I'd like to hear Dr. Meyer give us a little recap of what was going on in 2004.
I would love to.
Yes.
What were you trying to accomplish, why, and what happened? And,
Well, that would be a longer conversation. But just to reiterate, I mean, I don't, Valerie, you've been at this a long time. Is this vision statement still pretty close to what you think most people would want?
I mean, it's, you know, some new words put in it, basically it's saying that we want to keep our town and, you know, accept the history and look for the future. So.
And I'm all about community involvement. When we first developed Ernie Mills Park, we had over 100 people from like a dozen different organizations in town come out and do all the landscaping. And the reporter from St. Pete Times was there shaking his head saying there's no way we could do this in St. Pete. So I'm all about community involvement, but it seems to me like the vision statement probably doesn't have to be tweaked a whole lot to be appropriate. I don't know.
Any other comments?
I had a comment. What if we put this vision statement worksheet? I mean, I think this is a great product and could be used to rework what we've got. I mean, if we put something in the paper with a question that they could either call or flip out and send in, I don't know, somehow to use the worksheet that Georgina developed. Incorporate that. Anybody? Ideas?
Just real quick, I mean, unless you know what a vision statement is and what this worksheet, unless they were sitting here, they're not going to, there are a lot of smart people, please do not get me wrong. And there will be some that will understand what we're trying, the vision that we're trying to get them to do. However, for a lot of people, if they don't know where we're coming from, the information that they have, that's attached to a comprehensive, I mean, if you go ask the general public what's a comprehensive plan, are they going to know what it is? Unless you're in real estate or unless you're in government or unless you're some type of that, really and truly knowing what a comprehensive plan is and what the vision of that comprehensive plan needs to be saying.
Well, you're right. You have to use a language that the readers would understand, and they will understand that the city was given a grant, there was money spent, and there was public participation back in 2019. And we're revisiting and updating that. And what do we want for the future of Dunnellon? What is the vision for Dunnellon? We're inviting the public to participate and would like to have their opinions. And please show up at whatever date and time, to participate in that meeting. I mean, that's all that we're doing.
Yeah, you could.
Yes, sir.
I think you'd be better off just to publish this in the paper and ask the citizens if whether they agree or disagree, come tell us your opinion. And then we can modify it from that.
So that's an idea as well. Yeah, I'm getting nods on that.
You wouldn't like to hear from the citizens, what problem does Dunnellon seek to solve?
I'll tell you their problems.
Not necessarily. A lot of people have given up and said, I'm not going to say anything. Let me just live in my house. I think it's interesting to know because the survey that the organization did in November, to me, was very revelatory and told us a lot about where we want, what they thought was important. That's just to me. Why wouldn't you want to know?
I believe, as you said, they told you what was important to them, but that didn't necessarily connect into what the vision is of what they want the city to be.
Yeah, but on this worksheet, it says, what do we want to solve? What problem do we want to solve? Kind of the same thing, kind of.
That's
Well, they said, what problem do you have in the survey? They said, our roads aren't paved, and they said, we want to solve
but
it.
our focus right now is the attorney feels it's important that we create a vision statement and make that part of the comprehensive plan, the introduction to our comprehensive plan. We have one from 2004. We have a draft that we had worked with, and it strictly was a draft of what we were trying to encompass, but then we found out this one from 2004 existed. So it's just an update of what we have that can be added to the comprehensive plan. That's all we're trying to accomplish. So,
If
Yes,
you
sir.
do an article in the paper, you can put a link in the paper for a survey monkey for people to type into their little web browser and let them do that instead of mailing stuff out. So somebody's going to look at the house.
That's a good idea.
Paper,
Yeah.
create a survey monkey and let people go in and fill that out.
That's a
an
great
excellent
idea.
idea. Excellent idea.
I think it's free.
Yeah.
Yeah, to do that. So, just don't ask me, I'm not the techie one, so somebody.
Georgina, she
Georgina. No, but I think that's an excellent
I do
idea.
too. Excellent.
Does it seem like we have a plan of attack here, an article, and you said the link, I like that, and see what we get, and then set a more appropriate date and time, and come back and solidify what we think we want, and then the third meeting would be the final draft.
I think that's a plan.
Any other comments?
I just have one comment.
Pardon me?
I just have one comment.
Yes, please.
And that is on behalf of the staff. I want to let you all know that we're here to service. We're not here to determine if something is done or not. We're not the ones that make those decisions. And we go above and beyond, and I'm speaking on behalf of everybody, to do what's best for the city. That's what we're here to do, and that's what we try to do every day.
Certainly do.
We thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Absolutely, we work very hard. Okay, I think you all have to get ready for a meeting out there, and so do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move that we adjourn.
Second. So it is 5:02, meeting is adjourned. Thank you for participation.
Nicely run meeting, Brenda.
Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to call to order the City of Dunnellon City Council workshop.
It is August 3rd, 2022. It is now 5:35. We're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to say a short prayer or give us any words of wisdom or any inspiration?
I would.
Hmm?
I would.
Okay, please come on.
Would I do the microphone?
Yeah.
I've been wanting to do this. I have just wanted to be able to invite the presence of God into Dunnellon, into each of us, and direct us to the best possible choices for Dunnellon. Thank you, God.
Okay. Everyone, have a seat. Ms. Odom, roll call.
Mayor White,
Present.
Vice Mayor Hanchard,
I am still in the house.
Councilwoman Williams,
In the house.
Councilwoman Covich,
Present.
and for the record, Councilwoman Kenny is absent tonight. Michelle Leonard, Assistant Clerk. Here. Jan Smith, Finance Officer.
Here.
Roy Slattery, Public Works Manager.
Here.
Georgina Sig, Community Development Manager.
Here.
Julie Danowski, Records Clerk. Here. Chief McQuaid.
Here, ma'am.
Lieutenant Yachts.
Here.
City Attorney Andrew Hand.
I'm here.
The agenda for this meeting was posted on the city's website and City Hall Bulletin Board on Wednesday, July 27th, and amended on August 3rd to add backup to agenda item number 13.
Thank you very much, Ms. Odom. Before we get started with agenda item number 1, just go over a few things. If anyone in the audience or attendees would like to speak, you're welcome to. If you have signed up, you will be asked to speak first. If you haven't signed up, before we conclude the public comment, you will be given an opportunity to speak if you would like. Please, when you speak, give us your name and address. Please realize that you will be limited to 3 minutes. If you have any beepers or ringing devices, now is a good time to turn them off. To let you know what this is a workshop. A workshop is much different than a council meeting. The workshop is actually the council's discussion of topics that are currently in play, both past, present, and future. It also allows you, knowing what's on the agenda, to have an opportunity to participate by hearing public comments. Give us your opinions on anything that's on the agenda or anything that's not on the agenda. Council will not, at a workshop, we do not make decisions tonight. There are no votes. That will happen 5 days from now when we have our regular meeting. So this is kind of like a greet and meet with a workshop between the public and us on the council. It is also important for you to know that because of sunshine laws, this council cannot communicate about city business to each other in between meetings. So these meetings are critically important because this is our opportunity to finally be able to speak to each other legally and share some ideas. So with that in mind, we will start. So number 1 on our agenda is public comment. If you would like to speak on anything that's on the agenda or anything otherwise, this is your opportunity to do so. Ms. Odom, do we have anyone signed up?
Paula Koger,
Name and address.
My name is Paula Koger at 11983 Palmetto Way, Dunnellon, Florida. And I'm here to talk about the fact that I asked if I could do a dance, and it was approved, and a talent show. And so that's going to be October 8th at Ernie Park. And I have some girls have gotten with me, and we've organized it. And so we're welcoming your talent. I don't care how unconventional it is, as long as it's, you know what I mean. But, just to have fun, to get together and share the funny sides of us, or the bright sides of us, or the parts of us that we would never let anybody know about. You have to hide it all the time. And the other thing I'm looking for is I'm looking for a way to solve the problem of enforcement. When I walk in the park, there are some beautiful new signs there,
And they're directing the community towards good things, like don't run motorbikes on the walkway. And there's no enforcement of it. They're still running them, 30 miles an hour while you're walking. No warning from the backside, just. So it's, I don't know, I know this is a great problem because I know our police are just working there, really working. So I don't want to put it on them. I think maybe we could get creative and find new ways to enforce what's written on signs. And, maybe have citizens who have little training tags and shirts. And when they walk on the park, they can go, "Sir, do you know that is not allowed to go 30 miles an hour on a walkway? It's scary." And so I'm just like throwing that out. I know it's a new concept to have citizens do anything to help the police. But I just want to, help stimulate your brilliance. And so you can come up with a solution. I don't know what it would be. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We're brilliant and we're talented tonight.
Yes.
So, it is official October 8th, correct?
Right.
And what time is it supposed to start?
Oh, that's a good question.
She didn't get that talented yet.
All right, I'll give you another opportunity to come to the microphone.
Oh, good.
Okay. Ms. Odom, who is next signed up, please?
I don't have anyone else signed up, but I do have a written comment that was submitted.
A written comment?
If you want to go ahead and let the audience speak.
Yeah, I would let the audience speak first, and we'll wrap it up with that. Is anyone in the audience that did not sign up that now has decided they would like to speak? Yes, Mrs. Dunn.
Kathy Dunn, 11386 Hendricks Drive. I attended the Main Street Conference as Georgina did, and it was a fantastic experience. The number one thing that the 100 people were there agreed upon was that one of the most important things a community should have is walkability. So keep that in mind, because that is the number one thing that everybody agrees is most important. So how can we achieve more walkability in Dunnellon? Good question, no easy answer. But I do appreciate the flashing sign that has been put out on 41, close up by the Rogers Realty building, although I see it does not work. And I wondered what it would take to get that to work, or how much it would cost to buy a new one, and possibly citizens could donate. Anyway, I really appreciate the consideration for how can we achieve walkability in Dunnellon. Thank you.
Very good. Is there anyone else that's attending that would like to speak at this time? Please keep in mind that you will have a second opportunity to speak at the conclusion of the workshop. But you will not have an opportunity to speak again until then. So if there's something on your mind, this is your opportunity to do it, or have to wait a couple hours until we wait through this agenda. So going once, going twice. All right. Please note everybody who wanted to speak had an opportunity to speak. Council, I forgot to say something before we went to public comment number 1. On item number 11 on the agenda, Troy has asked that we remove item number 11 from the agenda. This is something we discussed about a salary adjustment. He has explained to me that we haven't finalized our budget yet. We don't know for sure what we may or may not do with the millage, and he thinks this should be done at a later time, and he does not feel comfortable doing it now. So he has asked me to remove this from the agenda.
That is so considered.
Thank you, Troy.
Okay? All right, everybody good with that? Removing it from the agenda?
Yes, sir.
I'm not good with it, but I think if Troy wants to do that, fine.
Okay.
Don't
So-
forget her written comment.
Huh?
Yes, she has a written comment.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, okay.
This is from David Toger. Attached, please find 3 photos taken mid-afternoon Sunday, 7/31/22. I apologize for the fingers partially covering the lens, but you can still see that the parking lot at our city beach is only half full. I believe I counted 5 people in the water at City Beach. The 3rd photograph was taken 15 minutes prior to the City Beach photographs from our backyard. I counted 25 people in the water on our side of the river that were not associated with any boat, kayak, tube, or canoe. What prompted me to take these photos was a persistent man who rang our doorbell numerous times and tried to give me 30 reasons why I should let him park in our driveway or yard. I tried to direct him to City Beach, but he would have nothing to do with going to City Beach when he had 10 friends swimming and wading in the river in front of our property. I am in support of rejecting all proposals in response to RFP 2022-03 wayfinding signage and maintenance services project. I would like to have more information on how the city plans to spend the $265,000 funded for the project. What I can support is additional signage to direct visitors to City Beach. And then I'll show you the photos real quick here. So this is the photo that, oh, come on, he took from his backyard. And the photos of City Beach, that's the parking lot at City Beach. And then one more of the park at City Beach. And his fingers.
You've shown proof that it was them.
And that's all I have. Let me just double check Zoom, see if I have any hands raised. Oh, now he's raising his hand. Can I allow him to speak even though I just spoke for him?
Please.
Okay.
He has 3 minutes.
Mr. Coger, you have to unmute yourself. Mr. Coger, if you can hear me, you have to unmute yourself.
All right, Ms. Odom, let's move on. That did it.
He figured it out.
Or can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks for reading my comments. The other thing I would like to do, I would like to support the idea of a sign that we could use to rent and raise revenue with. That sounds like a very good idea. I'm in full support of that. However, when we start looking at putting signs up that say no golf carts beyond this point, we've got a few of those up in the city, and I'm not sure how many more we need. As far as stop signs, those are a liability issue, and if we've got stop signs that are missing that put the city at risk, then we definitely need to do those. But the city budget being what it is, I'm concerned about spending the $220,000 for how our budget's going to be for signage that we could possibly do without. So I would just like to have more opportunity to get more information about where the money's going and what it's going for. And I'd be willing to show up at meetings, just let me know when they are. You got my email address. I'm going to get more involved with this. And I appreciate you guys' tolerance of me not being able to get the mute off.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kroger. All right, Manny, anyone else?
Do not have anyone else.
Okay. So that is the conclusion of public comment. Now we move on to item number 2, board reports. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to give a board report? Mr. Kiefer, you're here representing the Historic Board. I would expect you would take advantage of this opportunity.
I will, sir.
Okay.
Scott Kiefer, I'm with the Dunnellon Historic Preservation Board, 9075 North Cedar Cove Road. Basically what we've been doing here recently is approving grants, $5,000 grants to repair and beautify our lovely Dunnellon Historic District. As far as I know, we have paid out now on 3 of them reimbursements. So you do the work, you get the work completed. Once you produce the receipts and pictures that the work's been completed, then we approve you to be reimbursed for the grants. Right now, we're on hold until our budget's approved, so probably around October, we'll be accepting more grant applications.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any other board reports? Yes, Ms. Diargo.
Brenda Diarvo, 11661 Camp Drive. Currently, our planning commission has started looking at the proposed ordinance for vacation rentals, or called short-term rentals. We've had a lot of feedback from the community regarding this. So as a result of the feedback and needing to look at this very closely and to get something that can meet with public approval, we have a special meeting planned for August 10th at 5:30 p.m. to go over this ordinance and address more public concerns. And then, as you know, we just finished a special joint meeting, the Planning Commission meeting on creating or updating the visioning statement to be added to the comprehensive plan. Thank you.
Comment? One thing I have to say to you is I am getting a lot of correspondence on this subject. So apparently this is something that's going to be very well discussed and very well attended.
Yes.
As I can tell, I'm starting to get emails, I'm starting to get questions, what's this all about? So put your boots on and get ready.
Plan for a long meeting, or a series of meetings. Thank you.
You ran a really good meeting this afternoon.
Thank you.
Any other board reports? Okay, very, very good. Okay, now we go to number 3. We're moving right along. The Dunnellon Chamber and Business Association report. Welcome, Judy, as always.
Judy Terwilliger, Director of the Dunnellon Chamber and Business Association. We have some new members. Actually, we have quite a few. We have Peaceful Passings of Ocala, Employment Service Administrative Services, Franco's at River Run, Pro Vista Diagnostics, and Cheryl Regina from Rainbow Springs Realty Group. We have some upcoming events. August 1st, which is going to be every first month, it started August 1st, every first Monday of the month, the Danella Community Services will have a soup kitchen at the Holy Faith Episcopal Church in Danella. And if you have any questions, contact the church. August 5th, free lemonade at Bricks and Mortar Realty from 11 to 2.
That's over there on Pennsylvania.
Yep, Pennsylvania Avenue. By the fire department,
And
yes.
good cookies are going to be made too, just saying.
Good, good. August 6th is a free dental clinic at the Holy Faith Episcopal Church. August 12th is the Back to School Bash at the Rainbow Lakes Estates Youth Center from 5 to 9. And for more information, you can call 352-489-4820 on that. August 14th, Music of the Roaring Twenties at the Church of the Holy Faith. And that starts at 3 p.m. August 23rd, we have a plant swap at 6 p.m. at the Rainbow Lakes Estates Community Center. And you can call that same number if you have any questions. August 27th, we have the Summer Nights Festival starting at 5 p.m. at Barbers and Beers in Dunellon. And that's all we have for today. Thank you.
Any comments or questions for Judy while she's here?
What did you say about brick and mortar?
Huh?
What did you say about brick and mortar?
They're having lemonade.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Free lemonade.
Free lemonade and cookies, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna say my favorite, it's gonna be super sweet.
And the question I have is, what we have a keen interest on is your website. It's still,
Oh, the
So-
tourism website? Yeah, it's
Yeah.
up and running and people have been posting on there.
what's been the response? Are you getting good response?
People are very excited about it. They really are very excited about it. Got a lot of positive feedback on it.
So those that are attending, how can they get to that website? Just through your main website will lead you to that?
They can just go to Dunnellon, discoverdunellon.com. And it's very simple to use. You can add your own events, anything you want on there.
Very good. It's a collaborative effort between the chamber and the city, trying to put out a website that is informative on all the things to do in the area, places to go, places to eat. Basically, give you some more things that's on there. There's tons of stuff.
Oh, well, there's all sorts of restaurants. There's rules for the river, which is important. There's places, where you can rent your kayak, where you can put your boat in if you have your own.
Upcoming
places.
events.
Yeah, upcoming events. There's a whole entire section of the webpage that is all entitled, all events. And those people that want to can just put their own events right on there all by themselves. They don't have to call anyone to do it for them. It's all menu driven, very easy to use, user friendly.
And staff has been working very closely with the Marion County Tourist Council and the chamber, trying to get a three-party triangle going where we have the city, county, and your organization working together to promote the events
Yeah,
and kind
I
of
think that's a great idea.
cross-reference each other, promote each other. And county seems to be very excited about that. They have initiated a in-house meeting with us every third month to go over ideas and whatever. We just had one last week, and it was quite well done and received.
Yep.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Okay, we go to number 4. This is actually maybe one of the most important parts of the meeting. This is when our department heads actually report to council, telling us the various things they've been involved with over the last 3 or 4 weeks. So, Ms. Odom, you can go down the line and ask your department heads to report to council.
Okay, I will start if that's okay. Just an update on the improvements at Danella Little League. We were contacted by the county this week, and there are 3 trees, I believe it was 3, that, I'm sorry, 4 sycamore trees that are creating safety problems. They have buckled up the concrete sidewalks and are interfering with the overhead electrical lines. And so they reached out, the county reached out to the city and the state to get approval from both agencies per the agreement that we have for the sublease with the state. So the state did respond and said that they were okay with it. And I had Georgina check and see if there was some sort of tree permit or exemption letter, and that was applicable. The exemption letter was in this case, so she sent it up, the application up to the state. They have completed it, sent it back. So I think we're all good to go. So once, from what I got, they're ready to move and start getting things going. I would encourage you to try and attend the August 16th pension board meeting at 8:30 a.m. The pension board recently authorized a cost study to increase the special risk pension board, the special risk pension plan multiplier. And so we got some information back from the actuary that they'll be discussing and possibly making a recommendation to council on what they are proposing. So if you would really like to understand that process and what they're asking for, what the pension board is recommending, I would suggest attending the August 16th, 8:30 a.m. meeting.
Here?
Yes.
Thank you.
How
long does that run?
It usually maybe run about an hour or so. And just a reminder, Monday, we have CRA at 5 o'clock. And this Wednesday, the 10th, is Georgina's special planning workshop. And I think that's all I have.
Is that at 5:30 or 5, Georgina?
The workshop is at 5:30. Thank you.
And then Jan has something to speak to you about as far as the survey that you all asked for on the boat launch program.
Yes.
Is that my cue?
Okay.
Yes.
Sure. Actually, I have a couple things I'd like to talk with you all about.
So are we on number 5 right now?
No, we're on number
4.
4, we're still on
But you're
4.
going to speak on the boat launch?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay, I got it.
Number 5 are presentations
Okay.
by the 2 companies that are listed.
Okay, understood.
I put in front of you a 5-question boat launch survey. You all directed us to, take a survey of the boaters and users of our facilities. And our goal is to hopefully start tomorrow with the ROTC group from the high school and continue over the weekend with our city volunteers. So we can gather as many respondents as possible. And if it's within the reason, I'll be able to wrap it all up Monday for you and give you a presentation on the results. And these are the questions that, we got together and kind of decided on. If you have any more questions you'd like asked, we tried to keep them very short, simple, and just gauge the community's reception to what council wants to do at the boat launch. So if you're okay with these questions, we'll just go ahead and move forward with it.
speaking simple.
If you ask too many, I don't think people are going to want to take the time to answer because they're going to want to get out of grief.
Yeah.
And plus, it could create a little bit of a backlog if it's taking too much time. So we tried to keep them yes, no, which one do you want, pick it quick.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So are we good to go with that?
Well, I'm going to go. Mandy, could you show number 5? This one's, I'm kind of curious about. This. You're asking someone who's getting ready to launch their boat, would you prefer to pay a launch boat fee annually, daily? Well, I'd say, where's the third choice? Not at all.
I don't think, but that's not your goal. Your goal is to charge a fee. So, and this will let them know your intention.
Yeah.
So
It's kind of like.
now, and annually means a pass.
Yeah. I
So maybe I need to expand that to say annual pass,
Yeah.
rather than just,
Yeah, I kind of look at that question, would you prefer to pay a boat launch fee annually or daily? And I'd say that's kind of like asking roadkill, do you prefer the front tires or the back?
well, that's a good choice though. But it's possible that you have just the occasional visitor who will, let me just pay a fee each time I come.
Well, and maybe that's the thing to do, really and truly, instead of say, would you prefer to pay a boat launch fee? If you are a local, and I know you can use a better word than local, but a reoccurring visitor to the boat ramp, would you rather have an annual pass or a daily?
Okay.
Maybe some worded just a little bit, because if I'm just here from Missouri with my boat,
Sure.
I'm just gonna pay a daily.
Sure, so a recurring visitor, if something like if you are a recurring visitor.
Or a user, or yes. Yeah, you got it.
User, would you prefer to pay a boat launch fee by annual pass or daily?
Yeah.
So how are you distributing that information?
The ROTC group is
Okay,
going to be located right down the boat.
Oh, they're gonna be doing, okay.
Do y'all
I heard
need
you say
clipboard?
ROTC, I didn't.
I was gonna say, do y'all need
Okay.
clipboards or anything?
Okay,
And we hope the volunteers will do the same over the weekend.
okay.
Okay.
I have a comment, please.
I do have one more thing I'd like to discuss.
Well, you have a comment on
I'm
this?
sorry.
No problem. For number 4, because some people are not as familiar with using other parks and ramps and so on. You could add something to where it says kiosk, like in parentheses, insert credit card, something like that.
So next to kiosk, put / credit card.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
It's a good suggestion.
Any other changes you'd like to see? Okay, I will go ahead and incorporate those two comments, and we'll go ahead and move forward with the survey. Council, the other thing I wanted to bring forward, this budget season is very unusual because of the lateness of the information that I'm receiving in order to put a full, complete budget together for you all. I'm recommending that we cancel the budget workshop on Monday. I do not have that many changes from the last version. I'm still waiting on 4 major items that I'm really hoping by the 22nd I have for you, because we have to have a workshop on the 22nd regardless. My estimates some have come in higher, some have come in lower. I'm still waiting on that one major revenue stream that I've spoken to in the past, the communication service tax. It is now pushed out to sometime in August. It was July all along, now it's August. So I'm not sure what they're dealing with at the state level. One thing I would like to ask is direction on millage rate. In order to prepare a budget that you're really leaning towards, okay, if we're going to decrease the millage rate, it may involve getting the department heads together and reducing expenses. Again, waiting on these other items that I'm waiting on. I'm not sure which way it'll go. This will give us time to get together, and I've heard 6.4, I've heard 6.3. I can keep it at 6.5, and then on August 22nd, if you make a decision and we hurry up and make the necessary changes for the first public hearing, I'm trying to keep things as smooth as possible and to give you a budget that maybe won't take you much more work to accomplish prior to your public hearings, of course. So, Mandy, could you bring up that millage schedule that I stuck in back up?
Yes.
I went ahead and prepared an analysis of 6.5 mils, 6.4 mils, and I've heard you talk about 6.3.
It's tiny.
I'm sorry, I tried to enlarge it and it really cut things off.
We're not cutting out the magnifying glasses though, right?
So what I did was, I went from the lowest taxable value house at about $27,000 for assessed purposes. If we look at the first line, let's take that as an example. Between 2021 and the next year, our new budget, 2022, if we were to keep the millage rate at 6.5 on a taxable value of $27,000, it would be an addition of $14.63 a year, or $1.22 a month. If you move over to the next column, I've taken it down to 6.4 mils, which would mean an additional taxes of $11.90 for the year, or 99 cents a month. I've taken it out to 6.3 mils. That would be a tax increase of $9.18 for the year, or 76 cents a month. I have done that for multiple scenarios, up to $1 million. So if you take a look at that, and if we go to, let's say the average home is really closer at the average assessed value is really closer to 200,000, which is the third line down. You're looking at 6.5 mils, an annual increase of $39 a year. At 6.4, an annual increase of $23.40, and at a 6.3 mil rate of $7.80. And I did show the monthly, what it would be on a monthly basis for someone who budgets monthly. And a $400,000 home, maybe that's more what Dunnellon it has. At 6.5, an annual increase of $78 or $6.50 a month. At 6.4 mils, $41.80 or $3.48 a month. And then at 6.3 mils, an annual increase of $5.60 or 47 cents a month. So I'm kind of hoping you can give me some direction of what you would like to see, or we keep it at 6.5 and I try and wrap up all these missing pieces and bring you a balanced budget on the 22nd at 6.5 mils. I'm trying to save a little bit of work, if possible. If not, if you're not comfortable with doing that right now, I thoroughly understand, and I'll just move forward with what I've been doing all along.
I have a couple comments. It is my understanding that for every 1/10 of a point, we're talking about a reduction of $20,000. So if this council took a position, and I have no idea what the council may do, because we have just been discussing it. If this council said the 6.1 is the total rollback, I know it's 6.09, but I'm saying 6.1, just so you don't have to correct me, right? So if we split it in the middle between the total rollback to 6.3, we're talking about a $40,000 reduction. So I don't look at a $40,000 reduction in you having to totally redo the entire budget.
No, it wouldn't.
Right, you just have to squeeze out of your proposed budget
Yes.
$40,000. So this is not a Herculean, Titanic redo the whole thing when you would have to reduce 40,000 from your budget. This is something, to me, that would be relatively pretty easy to do. You just have to squeeze $40,000 out of somewhere if we put it in the middle. Also, what's on my mind is our tax increases are just part of the tax increases. When people, and I have corresponded with you on this idea, when I get my tax bill, I look at the bottom line, whatever my total taxes are. Most people do it that way too. They don't go through it and say, well, my tax increase is based on partly county, partly on fire, partly on the city, partly on the various line items. I'm just looking at, last year I paid X amount of dollars, and this year I'm paying $300 more. That's what I'm looking at. And I'm probably not putting much thought into it. When I get if I'm a city resident, if I get a tax bill that has a significant increase into it because of all the other things that are bumped up, chances are I'm simplifying my solution by saying it's the city that has caused my taxes to go up. I am just now getting to the point that I'm starting to look at and analyzing all the line items. In the past, I just said to my wife, how much did our taxes go up this year? She'd say 200, she'd say 150, she'd say 300, whatever it might be. I never said, well, how much of it is from the city, how much of it is from the county, how much of it, it's pretty that. So I'm anticipating with the increase in property values that there may be a total tax increase when you add it all up. What the bottom line is, it may be something that gets people's attention. And even though a reduction in the millage rate may be numbers that are small as you have computed, it's a statement to the citizens that we're aware your taxes are going up. We're aware that we're in this together. It's almost like you're making a statement that we're doing our best to keep your taxes under control. Everybody else might be raising your taxes, but we're doing our best. So whether it's 6.4 or 6.3, it might not be a lot of money, but I think it is a statement from this council and the amount of money we're talking about is such that it's just simply a finding out in the budget where there's maybe $40,000 that doesn't need or doesn't have to be spent. So where I'm at with it, whether it's 6.5, 6.4, 6.3, I'm very open to any of those numbers. I do know there would be a lot of appreciation. Any reduction in the millage rate would really make the city look very well, and there's not much money that we'd have to give up to do that. So that's my statement on that.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Thank you for doing that chart. I'm going to honestly tell you, I asked her to do that on the cuff just a little bit ago, so thank you. I appreciate that. Because I told her, just like in my real estate business right now, people aren't looking, I mean, they do look at the price of the house, but what we're seeing is that people are going to their banker and saying, I only want to have a payment with my insurance and my taxes and my principal and interest of $1,200 a month or whatever it might be. They're not looking at, it's going to cost, I'm going to buy a $300,000 house, just as long as it's $1,200 a month that I'm spending, that's all that they're looking at. So that's kind of what I asked her to give us here, because that's what everybody wants to know. What's my bottom number going to be? And so thank you for doing that for us. And I agree, finding 40,000 isn't the death roll for us. However, it is the staff's, Jan just doesn't sit and arbitrarily take $40,000 out of the budget. She has to now have staff, department heads, look at their budgets and say, what are we giving up? And they don't take it from the capital, and they don't take it from the CRA fund. So this is just pure general, the electric, the water, the gas that we're putting into the cars that are running, the equipment that we're having to replace because it's 100 years old, more or less. So those are the things that they're having to find that 40,000 or 50,000 or whatever the magic number might be. So it's not just, Jan, find 40,000, kick it out for me, babe. And I know that there are some funds, maybe 20,000 that we found? Possibly.
It all depends on what these other expenses and this revenue stream comes in at. And I do want to just make a quick statement. Any millage rate change does affect CRA.
Yes, it does.
But in a very minimal capacity.
Right, but it's not, but it's still 1,000 here or 500 there.
Yes.
So, I mean, yes, I would love to roll it back to 6. Heck, I'd like to take it back to 5, but, just joking, Jan. But so, it's not just as easy. So if we can give her some guidance, and she's basically given us a 6.5 mil budget at this time for us to look at. So if we as a council could assist her in thinking, what we're thinking is what she's asking is, are we looking at maybe trying to do 6.4 or 6.3? And then if it comes back that we've got an extra $100,000 in revenues that she wasn't expecting to come in, then we can really adjust the budget lower.
I'll take it back a little.
Yeah, but, but I think that's what you're asking us, is not so much, you've got to be able to go to these department heads if we're thinking, hey, we want you to find 40,000, you're going to take $60 out of your budget, you're taking 20 out of your budget, and where's the rest of it coming from? So.
And through your guidance, as I get these numbers in, that'll just lead me in the direction that you all are really leaning towards. That maybe you don't make a final decision, and like you, Mr. Mayor, is saying anywhere between 6.5 and 6.3. Let's see what I can do to give you what you're leaning towards. Maybe at first blush 6.3 doesn't work, and then we get into discussion at the workshop, and we make it work. So.
Well, you're asking for some guidance.
Just guidance.
So where I'm at right now, if you said it's time for a vote, it's going to be either 6.3 or 6.4. It's going to be less than the 6.5,
Okay. Okay.
right? So,
And is everybody in agreement with that?
I just don't want to see us ever going backwards like we've done in the past. So if we can do it at 6.43, I'm okay, but knowing that we can't go backwards.
Okay.
So.
Thank you.
You asked for kind of,
And this
which
will
way
help.
is the wind blowing? You kind of got an idea.
This will help that I'm not just focused on a 6.5 mil budget. If there's wiggle room prior to any discussion on the 22nd. Okay, thank you.
Just as long as we don't lose staff and such.
Okay.
My
And when you say staff, are you talking about requested new positions?
We don't need to,
It won't affect current staff.
no, I know, but see what,
I'll see what I can do for you.
Okay.
Are you talking about full-time code enforcement officer? You said
Troy's department, chief.
No, there are two brand-new positions that are in the budget, a service worker 2 for Troy, and a part-time police officer. Those are the positions that are brand new. The code enforcement officer, that was in the budget this year, it's carried forward to next year. So unless, that would have to be a discussion for council.
Right, and we're gonna chew on these things at the next workshop. correct?
Absolutely,
Right.
and by stretching it out to the 22nd, maybe I'll have everything
Right.
and we can just hash out.
So you want a consensus, not an end-up, this isn't a budget workshop, right?
So we're canceling the 8th.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Back to the original
Ms. Smith,
question.
what else?
Nope, that's it.
That's it? Okay, thank you. Ms. Odom?
Go ahead, Troy.
Troy, not too much backstory, just right to the point.
Troy, you do what you need to do.
Cedar Street, Ohio Street project. The concrete work is scheduled for next week. The new paving should be in starting on the 15th. So shortly after that, the road should be restored. Take them a couple more weeks to finish the total project after that. Blue Run Park overflow parking apron has been completed. The asphalt portion has been completed. We are looking to find a supplier for sod so we can get some new grass around the edges. That should be done by mid next week. That came in under budget, by the way. The total project cost for the asphalt and the change order came to $9,100. So, and it should only take about $300 for the sod work. All right. Blue Cove project is starting next week. Met on site today with the project supervisor, and equipment will be rolling into Blue Cove first of next week for their paving projects. Father Paul is excited and still does not believe me that it's happening, so we'll try to get a picture of his expression when the asphalt's in. The rope fence concept around City Hall here that Council Director will look into. We have ordered in some sample materials to give ideas and concepts and pricing on a total project. So that should be available for visual for the council within the next 2 weeks. The Beach Pavilion project is drug on extensively. However, I believe right now we're completing the building permit application, and I've been informed that the materials for it should be complete and ready by next week. So a week to 2 weeks, we should be seeing construction begin on the pavilions at the city beach. And last thing here, council, is it dropped off my radar, but I thought about it later this afternoon. There's a food bank that goes on every Friday at the bingo hall. Have you seen the food giveaway at the parking lot at the Dunnellon bingo? Okay. Anyways, there's a nonprofit organization that does food banks for needy families and so forth. They've asked us to assist them with providing some traffic cones to help guide their traffic and park the cars and stuff. We have about 40 to 50 miniature traffic cones that we no longer use, haven't ever really used them. They're just extra stuff laying around. And if it's okay with council, I'd like to go ahead and donate them to that organization so they can help keep traffic off the road, keep the parking lot safe.
That's fine. Do we have to use to,
I don't even think they're in inventory. I think they were donated to us at some point.
okay.
They're not official DOT traffic cones, that's why we don't usually do that, or they'll probably end up in a dumpster.
As long as it's good, Andrew, we're good? Okay.
Okay.
Troy, what time do they distribute? Is it 9 a.m.?
I think it starts around 9 a.m. I can get you the information on that.
Yes. I'd like to help out.
Yeah.
What is the date of the week?
Usually on Friday, I think I see them.
Okay.
I know it's on the weekend, so it's either Friday or Saturday. And I'll get that information, get it over to Mandy, maybe she can email it out to everybody.
She can put it on Facebook.
Whatever, yep. But they did make a request and I dropped the ball on it, so I'll get that first thing in the morning, make sure they got them for this weekend. I think that's it, unless council has any questions.
Nice job, thank you.
No questions. Thank you very much, Troy. For those that listened to Troy's presentation, this is some heavy-duty projects, road building projects that this council has really dedicated itself to over the last 2 years. So we're talking about completely repaving Cedar Street, completely repaving Ohio Street, doing 4 of the major intersections in Blue Cove, and we put in a asphalt apron to the auxiliary parking lot at Blue Run Park, which you almost needed a Jeep to pull into there. This is council fulfilling its promises that we would focus on road repair, and we're getting it done. And it's quite a load for Troy to be the person that has to make sure all this is done right, done timely, done in the proper order. Unexpected things like unknown old water lines that are still sitting there, components from 70, 80 years ago that are not mapped. He goes over some of these things with me, and he can change a good day into a bad day real quick if you listen to him. It's some complicated things that he's dealing with. So hats off to you, Troy, and thanks for what you're doing.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Odom?
Georgina?
Yes, I have a few things.
Okay.
Hi, how are you? Well, first off, I wanted to advise that community development has been tapping into some grants. And we found a grant that is from its Team Mobile Hometown Grant. That's how it's called. It's due by October 1st, so we have some time, but I need your approval in going forward and applying for this grant. It's going to be for $50,000 to redevelop Town Hall. So this grant is developed for municipalities to use for different projects, and City Hall is one of them. So I figured since we need to revitalize this building, why not use the grant for that purpose? So I've spoken to Troy a little bit about it, and we were going to try to get Kimley Horn, with your approval, of course, to do a study of the actual structure, the actual, I'm sorry.
Integrity.
Integrity. I was looking for the word and it wouldn't come up. The actual integrity of the building, so that we know exactly what to expect and what to do. The grant will cover that study, and it will give us enough funds to redo our roof, which is a long time coming. So, and maybe even the painting or the carpeting, whatever we need within the city, within City Hall. And my idea was that we harden the structure of the building with the potential vision of making this a 2-story building in the future, and hopefully maybe bringing a community center on our second floor with some kind of a balcony all around it so that, people can see the beautiful river we have behind us. And this study is going to serve not only for this grant, as part of this grant, but it can also serve for a future grant to do that second part of the building. So that's just a vision for now, for the second part of the building, but the grant that is there available now can serve for the beginning stage to give leadway to that vision and hopefully make it happen.
Is there a match to it?
No.
No match.
No match. So we can apply, what they ask is 5 letters for 5 institutions or partners of the city. So I was thinking of reaching out to our county commissioner, Dunn, which we sit in a board with her for the interlocal agreement for the school board. I was going to ask her to see if she can kindly give us a letter and reach out to other entities in town, see if we can get the 5 letters we need so that we can present if you all agree that I should do that.
So what do we need to do now to support your concept?
I just need you to tell me if you want me to go with it, to go along and apply. I mean, if you're in agreement to that, I can start the process.
Looking for a
it's not
consensus to apply for a no-risk grant?
And it will not cost anything for the grant preparation because I'm doing it myself.
Very good.
Ms. Odom, we can give a consensus. Okay, looks like you have it.
Sounds good, thank you.
That was easy.
Yeah, I'd just like to suggest that we ask Kathy Bryant, because she is our representative, for a letter.
I certainly can. And I will reach out to the county and see who would be able to give us that. Maybe
Should be the board.
Miss Loretta or Mr. Jim Coulier would want to participate in that. I can certainly reach out. I have good friends in the county. All right, and then my second item, it's something that the mayor brought to my attention when I started working here. It's in regards to West Penn Avenue and the lighting fixtures that are there now. He had mentioned at one point that these lighting fixtures were being taken care of by the business owners, and they're not properly maintained. So we've been researching on that and trying to get, quotes from different vendors to see if we can get solar lighting instead of an electric pole there and avoid the cost of an electricity bill, and take that away from the business owners. I spoke to several community residents that some of them own these businesses, and they were all for the city to maintain these lights. They are currently the owners of the lights, and they don't have a problem with relinquishing the right for us to go and fix the lights. So what community development had in mind was to retrofit the pole and change the fixture on top. Instead of having an electrical bulb there, have a solar fixture. And so we went out and got a couple of quotes, and I wasn't very thrilled with them because they were coming back really high in the thousands. And so luckily I went to the Main Street Conference last week, and sent from heaven, I met this company that do solar lighting, and they were able to give us a quote for $330 for the actual fixture. So what I thought was going to be in the 20,000 range to fix, now it's going to be about 7,000, which is a big difference. These lights are going to last for 5 years. Every 5 years, they need to be, the battery needs to be changed, and the battery cost is about $30 per piece. Each light has 2 batteries, so it will be $60 per piece. There are 24 lights, including the 3 here at City Hall in total. And I've spoken to some of the residents and business owners, and they are bringing in letters authorizing the city to take over those lights so that we can get that problem resolved. So this is the light. Thank you, Mandy. And it fits right onto the pole, so we don't have to do much of a change, and the maintenance is very low. So our guys can change the battery on them without a problem. All we have to do is retrofit, of course, the pole, which is going to be an additional cost. And we are also going to need to cancel the electrical outlet that goes to those lights. So instead of letting the business owners take care of it, since we don't know if they're really going to be taking care of it and it could be a liability, we were thinking about, if you're okay with that, since we have a little bit of money left from the budget that we put aside for this lights, if we can pay an electrical contractor to do the work, just cancel that out and get the solar lighting done. So,
We might even ask some of the residents, and you might have already done it, ask them if they'd be willing to do a donation. So
that's a great option.
$300, even if they paid half of it, that would be great, because now they're not paying the electric bill anymore.
Yes. And I did put this on our budget for next year. I had put in $26,000, and it's only going to be the quote is $7,199.76. So
Add another 4,000
So maybe
for
another-
all the others.
for all the other stuff, and we have a lighted up West Penn.
Great.
So if you're okay with that, I can continue with
Consensus
process.
to have her pursue?
Sounds like a light bulb of an idea.
Yeah. This was something council put a lot of time into about 3 years ago, because we noticed that half the lights in the historic section were not working. Half were, half weren't, which was actually creating a negative effect. Looked like half the lights needed light bulbs and no one didn't care enough to replace them. So we looked into it and we discovered everything that you said, and then we found out to take it over and convert it, we got an estimate at the time was $75,000 or $80,000. And that kind of backed us up, and we just said, well, it is what it is. So this is great news, because council 3 years ago was highly motivated to look into this. Okay, have at it.
And this is Main Street area. So we are putting out the road map for Main Street to come on board and beautify. So, yes.
And that was a citizen project that did that did those originally.
Yes, and I have to thank Ms. Myers, because she's been key in helping us get those business owners to know about this and give us a written authorization for us to go forward. So, yes.
Big deal.
And I will give you a full report of community development as a whole next meeting, because I don't want to drag on.
Okay.
So that'll be all for today.
Okay, excellent. Anyone else, Ms. Odom?
Yes, Chief has a presentation. Quick
Hello,
presentation.
Chief.
How y'all doing tonight? Somebody's allowed to go to sleep. I had the pleasure of being asked by Commissioner Curry to sit on the litter task force, and we have concluded. So I want to give you a brief overview of some of the things that we talked about and some of the things that the committee has already given to the county commissioners and the county commissioners has approved. So, next slide. It was, have to excuse me, so my eyes haven't adjusted yet to being the cataract, so sometimes I can see far away and sometimes I can't. So I'm about to wear my arms out here. So basically it was litter prevention through education and training, community outreach and action, and physically be effective in the litter program, which means we should have less litter in our county. Next slide. The task force was divided into four committees: community outreach and education, ordinance and enforcement, which is what one of the committees that I sat on, fiscal and marketing. Next. As you can see, we create a lot of litter. That's just a joke, so I'm sorry. Defined our task to evaluate the current county ordinances for enforcement codes. The committee researched ordinances and enforcement codes in other municipalities. And the committee provided recommendations to the task force on changes or additions to the county ordinance, in which we did, and they did approve them. I'll get to that in the next, please. Just some facts. Let's go on to the next one. What is litter? Illegal, commercial, personal dumping of tires, construction, furniture, which we see all over the place. People have no regard for what they throw out of their vehicles. People throwing trash from their vehicles into the roadways and medians, and litter blowing out of vehicles, trucks, particularly near landfills and recycling centers. And we did cover this, and with the county's help, we think we have reduced a lot of the last one here, the landfills. So, next. So, Marion County Sheriff's Office, who has the authority to enforce? Marion County Sheriff's Office, Police Department, Bellevue, Dunnellon, Fish and Game, Florida Highway Patrol, Marion County Solid Waste, and Marion County Gross Services. But we've also added some more to this through the ordinance, and I'll get to that. Next. We, as law enforcement, we wanted to increase enforcement of litter laws, increase awareness of litter laws, improve intelligence and data sharing between enforcement agencies, conduct regular meetings, and utilize state-of-the-art investigative tools to build good cases. Now, what do we mean by that? What we mean by that is there's a lot of places that people go regularly and dump their garbage. And we have authorized to put pole cameras or game cameras in those particular areas that transmits back to the agency that may be deploying them. So that's some of the tools that we're going to give some of the people that now can enforce some of the litter laws. Next. Both the statute and the ordinances provide for criminal, civil, and criminal penalties to consider. And it has to do with weight and volume, and I won't bore you. Go to the next one. This was sort of surprising to us. They did 500, this is the Marion County Solid Waste, they did 581 investigations in 1920, only issued 47 citations. 2021, they issued 45. So that was a concern, is they did 500 investigations back in the only, so they had to look at inward some on that one. Next. There we go. This was the old, it's only $50 fine, $250 for the second offense. I won't bore you with any more of that because we increased that quite a bit. some of the statistics on how much litter is in Marion County, it's scary to death. To how much litter is actually in all of Marion County, including Bellevue, Dunnellon, and the county. Okay? Just some of the laws, rules, and public highways and streets, and the rivers. And some of that, believe it or not, some of our rivers wasn't named, or canals and stuff, but now they have been. So, next. This deals with the motor vehicles and people generating, transporting, or receiving litter shall be responsible for ensuring that such litter is managed. In other words, you can't get in somebody else's vehicle and they have trash in the back of it, and you didn't know it was there, and if it blows out, too bad. You're going to get the citation. You should have checked the vehicle for the garbage and stuff. So, let's go to the next one. Authorized penalties. As you can see, $150 now instead of $50. That's a substantial increase. Second, $250. Then it goes into imprisonment, incarceration after the third offense, which is just a misdemeanor. So we've taken it very serious. And you can be put on litter pickup, as you see some people out there perform litter pickup on other community services described by the Florida litter law section. And now then, code enforcement is going to be can issue citations for litter control. That's one of the new things that come into the new ordinance for the county. So it's a pleasure sitting on the committee. Do you have any questions? That was a brief overview.
Sure. Yes. So in order for this to kind of be, do we need to, as a city, redo our ordinances to piggyback with the county?
It would be nice, yes. And the only reason I didn't bring it up, we got a lot on the agenda right now. And so in the near future, yes, it would be nice to mirror those with the county.
Has our attorney been able to look at them yet?
I'm sorry?
Has the attorney looked at them yet?
No.
Oh, okay.
First time he's heard about it.
Actually, I do have a copy of it. Mandy had sent it to me, and I was going to be speaking to the chief. I wanted to ask you some questions about it. Because the county has, the reason I received it is the county attorney specifically asked the city to adopt these regulations. But what's not clear upon the request is if they're asking us to essentially opt in, asking the city to opt in where the county could be responsible or aid in some of the enforcement, or adopt a mirror sort of ordinance that has the same provisions but completely enforceable by the city. So those are some of the things I just need to get an answer to, because the county ordinance has a system set up where certain funding goes to the county and so forth, and it's not really clear what they were asking for. So I have seen it. It creates a number of questions that I have, so I just need to get the answers to those questions.
Absolutely. Yes, Mayor.
Thank you, Chief. You know I'm all in on this. So
Yes, sir.
Go for it.
Thank you.
All right, as far as I'm concerned. Any other things? All right, Chief, thank you.
Just to let you know, I will not be here next week. I'll be at Florida Chiefs Police Association Conference, and the lieutenant will be here Monday night, but I have my ears on.
You'll have to be giving presentations, right?
Okay. Thank you so much. Ms. Odom, anyone else?
That's it.
Okay, very good. Nuts and bolts. I want to thank our, we have a couple presenters that are going to make presentations. Appreciate you hanging in there with us. This took a little longer than we were expecting. So we are now moving to item number 5. Jan, you want to lead us into this?
Sure. I was asked to pick, I had 3 companies to give presentations. 2 will be tonight. The last one will be Monday. We have 2 companies, AdCom Systems Group and Flash Parking. Our first presenter is via Zoom, and Mr. White is here with Flash Parking to give a in-person presentation.
Okay, one thing I would like to say to both parties, due to the depth of our agenda tonight, we would like you to limit your presentations to 10 minutes or less. Okay?
Do we want the gentleman who's here in the audience to speak
It would
first?
normally be, it would normally,
Oh, okay.
okay. Ms. Odom, are we ready on Zoom?
Yes.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Having us, so did I hear that we're going first, Zoom call?
I have, we can hear you. I have your your PDF presentation up on the screen for the council.
Okay. Well, thank you for having us. We are basically a people-focused technology company, and we do all sorts of things for city governments, from the utility departments to their all the way, courthouses, parking, all of that. And what we were proposing after speaking to Jan Smith was was that we would have a payment kiosk by the boat ramp, and this payment kiosk can be with a barrier gate or without a barrier gate. Payments can be made with a credit card. There would be a 2-inch total receipt paper involved, and a touch screen, and to just have to click on it, pay. There are many options that we can offer this kiosk, whether you want to install, it just depends on how far you want to go and how the enforcement is going to be. We've noticed in many different campgrounds, lakes, and other places where we install these similar kiosks, that the collections, the payments have gone up to as high as 200-300%, because there might have been some kind of honor system previously being used, and as people they will just kind of disregard that a lot of times, and so a system that they can pay. And depending on how you want to do this, we can do LPR cameras, we can do barrier gates, enforce, flexible, and we have provided a proposal to the city with all of these options, and you can pick and choose on how you want to do it. I don't know if I can't see the slides that you have there, but if you're going through the slides, we have some renditions of some of the pictures, and then we have a kiosk picture of what it should look like. These kiosks are able to weather the outdoor environment. They're built out of rugged aluminum, powder coated. There is a weather proof credit card reader on it, and there's a touch screen and a receipt reader on it. We have some sample screens. We try to make it extremely simple. If there is a dollar amount to charge, or you want to be able to vary the amount, if some people are purchasing an annual pass or a daily pass, they can pay accordingly. They they can either scan a card, a barcode, or an RFID card, it doesn't matter, they're very flexible with that. And others can pay daily, so we make this completely customizable. We can incorporate multiple languages if needed, voice prompts, and all of the other features that I talked about, like license plate recognition. We can even combine this with making payments through a mobile device if needed. We can provide text message notifications for receipts, so we have many customers that only want a receipt printer in it because it just, causes more litter. You're talking about litter, people throw them away or they fly away. So just do text message or email receipts. We provide 24/7 help for all of our kiosks, for all of our customers. So all of that, all of these features will be available to y'all. We provide very detailed reporting, pictures of the transaction of the person that's in front of the kiosk, and transactions that are real time. If you need employee codes, or any special promotional codes that need to be distributed, we can provide information on that too. We can provide features like that too. Yeah, we provided all of the pricing information, and we'll be happy to take any questions for what we're proposing today.
Jan, can you kind of explain this, what you asked him and what the prices would be?
Well, on this slide, the pricing is kind of all over the place for the companies. So it just depends on what you all want to see in the payment system. So my goal was for you to hear the presenters, and then to maybe come back and say, okay, we want a kiosk, we want receipts. Do you want a barrier gate to ensure payment instead of, will somebody walk up to a kiosk on their own and pay? So there are different features available through each company. So it just depends on really what council wants to see in a payment system. Then with all these different features, I can put together a real pricing scenario for you all. But Vansur has prepared this slide, for example, a kiosk with an EMV chip reader, $18,000 one-time fee. Then there's an annual support of 20%, which covers the reporting.
20% of what?
20% of the $18,000. Okay. If you go for maybe a more expensive option, it's going to be 20% of the more expensive option. He's presented some optional items like a barrier gate for $6,800, an LPR camera, which would aid in enforcement, $4,500. So if we can meet and you say, okay, you want a kiosk, do you want a camera to assist with enforcement? What comes along with that enforcement camera? Is it just strictly with our police department? Is there any billing for enforcement like one of the companies had presented way back? So this is just to give you a view of what they will offer. Okay. But they're all, it's not all apples to apples. So that's why we really need a discussion on what do you want to see down at your boat ramp to help collect the revenue.
So the first question you're looking for is what car do you want, and then we'll talk about the options.
Exactly.
Add on, right?
Exactly.
Right. So if we said, okay, we feel comfortable with the kiosk concept, with the actual piece of paper that you put in the on your dashboard, you now know the basic concept. And
yes.
Now you look at, okay, what bells and whistles.
Correct.
So one thing I would think in this equation is you need to also be talking with the chief and see what kind of enforcement issues, challenges that may be. Certainly if it's putting a slip in your windshield, not your windshield, on your dashboard, windshield will blow off and on your dashboard, then that would mean there has to be some sort of police monitoring, some monitoring to do that. So that would be part of what we need to talk about.
Sure, and these conversations, I didn't think it would end tonight.
Right.
It would really get it going.
Well, I don't know all the great options, but I do know what I would like if I was a boater. It's a lot of work to hook up your boat, do all the things, and whatever you gotta do, drive your boat to a ramp, back it down the ramp, unload it, get it in the water and whatever. Last thing I wanna do is have a complication of how to pay. I mean,
Absolutely.
please, don't put that on me, especially if it's raining or something like that. I wanna walk up to a kiosk with my credit card, put it in there, have it deducted, and be done with it. I mean, that's what my preference would be. You know, others may say I like my phone and all that sort of stuff, but I'm just talking.
And we can see what the survey
Yeah.
produces as well. And again, keep in mind, you can have more than one option
Right.
for the different users. You can have the smartphone option and the kiosk. And so, and that may be a way to go to move people forward
Gotcha.
quicker.
Yeah.
Just a thought. So I think with these presentations, after each presenter, presents their information, we then come back and have a meeting and discuss all the different options you want. Then I get with the chief and even Troy, where are we going to place the kiosk? Do we have internet capability where it's to be placed? So there are still moving parts and pieces to all this. And then I envision going back to these companies with some further questions to narrow things down. So,
Well, the one thing we have going for us is all these companies and all these devices are put in place somewhere, and a lot of them are already put in place locally,
Yes.
right? So it's not like we're reaching out into the darkness, going nowhere no man has gone before, right?
I was surprised with how many companies do offer boat launch payment systems. So, and it can tie into parking systems. If you decide to somehow move it, into the parking lot.
Okay.
So it can be expanded upon.
Okay, are we done with this presentation?
Thank you, Ed, sir. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having us. We appreciate it.
Okay, we ready for the next presenter?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Our next presenter is Dane White with Flash Parking, and he's prepared to possibly wow you with what his company does.
All right, thank you for coming, and thanks for your patience.
Yeah, no worries, absolutely. Thanks for having me. Would you mind, I know you gave me a 10-minute minimum, would you mind me click, or do you want me to click?
If it works, you go ahead.
All right, let's see if we can get this USB now. Do you have a computer underneath there?
Right here, you can flash on?
Yeah.
Right here on the side.
Okay, cool.
There you go. Well, it's good modern technology.
Gotta love the tech, right? Awesome. Sweet. Again, so thanks. Thanks for having me, guys. My name is Dane White. I'm a regional sales manager here in Central North Florida for Flash Parking. We are a parking technology company, and our focus is parking mobility. Started as a valet company in the cloud. Expansion far to where we are today, 10 years in business. And from the valet component, the industry looked at our simplicity of our application and said, hey, can you turn this into the parking world? Parking meaning machines, gates, tickets, stuff like that. And we took a consensus of every operator in the nation to see what struggles they were having. And fast forward today, and here we are at Flash with parking. Expanding to mobility. EV is a big topic of discussion nowadays, and we're heavily involved in that, so hopefully that we can shine a light on that further conversation. Again, we are born in the cloud. What that means is no local rack servers like that taking up space in your facilities and storage closets. We are in the cloud, meaning 99.9% upkeep. As you know, everything, your cell phones, your computers, plethora of things are in the cloud, so we took that as a consideration. We're on the Microsoft Azure platform. Fortune 500 companies are on that platform, Target, Walmart. because of reliability and redundancy. Because as we know, as business owners and operations, downtime is not an option. So again, one platform, seamless, and that's our vision from parking, mobility, EV chargers, scalabilities, you name it, we have a solution for every single component of your parking operations. Again, downtime, electric vehicles, even your cell phones. Most of the time now they update when you're sleeping. You don't even know that you got a new version unless the layout changes. And that's our model as well. On the Microsoft Azure platform, it's on 3 layers of latency. So if we have to take a location and update the software, we simply move it from latency 1 to latency 2, update it, you're still running, and then we put you back on latency run, and vice versa. So again, seamless upgrades, seamless downtimes, 99.9% up. Unless there's a nuclear bomb that hits the servers in Texas, that's the only way we're going to be down. Big thing here, all managed from your phone, smartphone. You can see transactions live on the fly. Who's parking in the lot? The model here is going to, license plate technology, license plate activation. Enforcement, whether it be a local staff member or someone from a government agency, can have access credentials to an app. It can be hundreds of profiles. They can see lively what cars have paid, match that to what's in the lot, and enforce right there, in addition to a receipt, if need be, on the dash. The operator main controller can also shut the lot down to say, hey, there's no payments. They can change rates on the fly if there's a special event and you want to pre-program a rate for 4th of July. You want to charge X amount of dollars. On the fly, you activate that fee, hit reload, wait about 10-15 seconds, and then your rate's available for your customers to pay. We handle all your PCI compliant. We're level 1 PCI certified. We do that on a yearly basis, and that comes from our monthly service fee that we do have for our software. But again, that takes a lot of reliability and exhaustion away from yourselves, constantly trying to keep up. And also what that does is ensure that your customers are protected from credit card fraud 100% of the time while they're transacting on our kiosk. This is a sample of our kiosk. So we have 2 kiosks. Full station on the left-hand side generates receipts. That's a big difference. Touchscreen, and then the kiosk on the right is not the mini station. That's our smaller kiosk. It all depends on what you guys are looking for. Again, we're a fond believer of not one solution, and you have to use all the components, and that's why we have multiple different platforms. And those platforms can be transferred to different layers of different components on expansion as well. Our motto, service, right? Downtime. All USB solid-state components in our machines. If you can plug your USB phone charger in an outlet in your brick, so-called, you can change a component in our machine. That's how simple it is. We sell you a kit that has all 10 components, but you can also a la carte it as well. If you feel like, hey, I don't think I need all those pieces, I'm going to buy 4 credit card readers. You can do that. Have them stored here. Technician or an employee can 4 bolts, pull the credit card reader out, pull the new machine, obviously power it down, and then you're up and running. You send us the failed part back, we send you a new one. Obviously, if it's manufacturer defect, we'll cover it. If not, then there's a cost to it. 2-year standard warranty on all of our products. You can buy additional warranty. We don't really sell it because our stuff doesn't really break. So, and non-proprietary parts, meaning they're not tied to us at Flash. US made company, we pride ourselves on that. We are housed in Austin, Texas. Quality controlled, UL certified equipment, weatherproof. Obviously we're in Florida. Hurricanes, you can unbolt that machine, store it in here in the safe climate, bolt it back down when the storms comes, and you're back up and running, power on, you're good to go. All it needs is 120 volt power and Ethernet data. It also can run on data modem and also Wi-Fi, from the building if needed. So there's a couple of different options for data. Custom wraps. The left-hand side has our base aluminum model, power coated. That location did a little RH logo, but our design team can customize any design you want to match the city's landscape. City logos on it as well as on the screen as well, fully customizable. Again, backup. We most locations have data running to it with an Ethernet cable sourced from the city's internet. And behind that, we do a network kit backup to ensure downtime. So in the event that the internet goes off for wherever it's coming from, our network kit kicks in, supplies that location until you guys get back online, and then continues the process and it turns back offline, and vice versa. If we see that your internet's down for X amount of hours, we'll alert you and say, hey, something's wrong on your end. But that goes back to us being always online. Oh, I'll leave that one. Again, future into EV, again, creating that platform, you have the ability to generate revenue or provide a service to your customers that are voting. And that all feeds into one dashboard on an application where you can view data, make recommendations, make changes, and all that stuff. So that's our standard 2-port charger. Oh, didn't want to do that? Okay. Again, these are some of the corporations that we work with and partner with across the United States. Over 100 reports emailed to you, all accessible on a website, no server that you have to go log into, pull reports on the USB drive, download onto your computer, all that stuff. You can have multiple to the users. They can go on, pull reports. You can also schedule reports on timers. Every morning you need a report, it can be emailed in your inbox, and vice versa. Flash IQ dashboard. We realize that how important data is to businesses to make decisions. Look, anyone can install a machine and collect payment and print a ticket, but it's the data that comes behind it that allows you to make the decisions that you need, whether it be what's your busiest time of the day, what day is your busiest. Obviously, weekends are going to be busy, but real-time graphical data, that's on the fly. Every second, that's populating data into your system. And on expansion, talked about the beach. Fast forward, you want to do a pay station on the beach. This overlays all your properties in one. You can see all the data behind that. See equipment stats as well on the fly. See what's up, what's down, credit cards down, screens off. You can also see all that on the app on your phone as well. Same thing with EV chargers. You can track power usages if it comes to that. Equipment levels, all that good stuff. This is a sample of the interface. Our goal is to make things quite simple, just like you guys know. We don't want complications, like you said, Mayor. It should be seamless, and that's how our machines are. You come up, you hit the rate. Obviously, this is an example, but you can do one rate, one button. Put your credit card in the machine, spits out that ticket, bless you, spits out that ticket. If you would like the full station that has the receipt, if it's a mini, then there's no receipt, but the license plate is in the app or on a report that can be emailed or accessible on the web. And that individual puts that ticket on their dash as the backup. In the event the ticket blows away, you have access to the app, you can see the plate. No need to log onto a system or take it as I'm going to cite a ticket and then have to deal with it later. Case studies. Our biggest accomplishment is the Plymouth Lane Beach in Massachusetts. They were running an organization where it was just a person just collecting cash, ripping tickets, collecting cash, ripping tickets. Installed last year. Year later, 300% increase in revenue. Mayor's quote was, "I'm mad that I didn't do this sooner." Again, thank you for your time. I'll open the floor for any questions. I know I was speeding through this, but I wanted to make sure I hit all the talking points. But again, our goal here is to be partners with every single business and entity and municipality. We're partners for your organization and your expansion that you have for the awesome items on the agenda for the city. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Any comments?
Just a great presentation, really getting flashy. Very flashy. I didn't see anything about pricing.
Okay, yeah, so that's in the quotes. I didn't know if I should include that or not, but I did email Jan some quotes. I don't have the quotes on me. Well, I do have them on a laptop, but obviously for time constraints.
And I really need to put everything
Okay, that's
in a
fine.
chart for you
Then we'll
all
do
to
that.
see what is a basic kiosk. And then here are all your options, your bells and whistles.
Okay.
Because if you're just gonna go with a kiosk, you want receipts. No receipts, because there's a slight cost for all of this. So I want to be able to put this all in a matrix for you all to really compare.
And I want to also, just like our diversity of products and options, our pricing as well. We obviously have CapEx straight buyout pricing, but just like Weymouth, They did our HOS model, which is hardware as a service, so they completely leased the equipment for X amount of dollars a month. So example of this location, if we went with a full kiosk, it'd be $600 a month, 6 and change. With the mini, no receipt, that one is $455. So the way you think about it is it's a standard $200 service fee a month if you were to CapEx buy it. So for an additional $200 a month, you don't have to go out and straight buy it. You could just lease it, and that comes with a lifetime warranty, a warranty as long as you're leasing the product, and there's a 2-year commitment on that. So
$400 a year.
yeah, so you think about, 16,000 and change for a full kiosk, 10,000 for a mini, versus leasing options, and we take care of everything for you. So
I have one question for you.
yes.
Do you have anything currently in operation within 50 miles of here if someone wanted to just take a drive and see something in action?
Boat ramp specific or just our equipment in general?
Boat ramp would be great, but anything that's similar where...
No boat ramp specific in the area. Orlando's 60 miles, I think. So our closest thing in Orlando is our commercial buildings. We're in the Bank of America building, the Seaside building in Bank of America, where these are commercial Class A buildings. But for boat ramps, no, currently. That's my goal, to expand.
We can send Andrew on a mission to go take pictures for us. He lives in Orlando.
I can give you a list of all the properties. Just look for a lot of the stuff branded in Orlando is Smart Park, because they've adopted that model for a property.
Well, any of that kind of information that you could share with staff, that
Yeah.
they could share with us will help in the
Oh, yeah.
decision. Thank you, Rob.
Yeah.
So, and just one more question. So if Chief has a cell phone, we can put your app on it, and
Yeah.
he can see that there's 15 cars, all the different license plates, and if there's card number 16 and 17, he's going to be able to say, no, they don't have.
They don't have,
Okay.
they're not paid. And everyone
that's-
can,
yeah.
everyone can be a monitor, so.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you for driving here. Safe travels home.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right, very good.
Presentation. Good presentation.
Jan, on top of everything else you're doing, you have this project sitting. How did you inherit this?
You all directed.
It's your fault.
I mean, are you a fisherman? Are you an outdoorsman?
I used to be,
Yeah?
it's been a long time.
Okay. All right, moving right along. We've covered, even though we're only on agenda number 6, we've actually covered a ton of things already. All right, I think we're wheeling back to you, Georgina, number 6.
Yes,
All right.
thank you. And number 6 is on City Hall digital sign. We had briefly touched on this a while back, but we actually got quotes from different companies to try to see if we can do a digital sign here at City Hall. Because right now, every time we're going to post an agenda, or every time we're going to post any information in that board out there, it's not conducive to being in the best fashion. Our staff is going out there under the weather and everything to put stuff outside, and it's just not conducive of good business. So we're trying to put a digital board where we can actually put information about the meetings and advise people on the different projects that are going on and whatever information we can put. This is the model that we're looking at to put.
6 foot man.
And it's going to be big. It's going to be seen from 100 feet away. So you'll be able to see, when the meetings are going to take place, so that people are well informed and they don't have to be driving through our kiosk outside and getting off the car to see the agenda because they can't see it from the car because it's so small. So this is going to alleviate all that. And so we went out to get quotes, trying to keep it under the $35,000 mark. And we were able to find 3 quotes. Grafplex is one of the ones that initially offered a quote, and theirs came over the $35,000 at $39,510. And then we had another quote from All Bright Signs, who did they do a lot of church signs, digital signage around the area. They're local. And they quoted us at $34,995. But then I got an additional quote from a vendor that he provides the actual digital frame, and he is partnering with the gentleman that did your welcome signs to the city. And so they both got together and provided a final quote of the entire signage for $33,138.
33,138.
So obviously, I'm recommending that we use what we've already, the company that we've used in the past, and based on the fact that they came at $33,000 as opposed to the others that were a little higher. The quality of the sign is going to be pretty much the same, with the difference that the signage that is coming for a lower price, it's actually 10 millimeters instead of 7. So you'll be able to see a little bit more. You'll be able to see it from a further distance, basically.
Oh,
That's
you
what
mean the
that
screen?
means. Right, the screen is going to be the same size, but the actual letters or the output of the image is going to be seen from farther away. So you'll be able to see from 100 feet of distance, as opposed to this one, which is 7 millimeters. And this one will be about 60 feet.
Jim,
So
where are you proposing to put the sign?
that is something that council can advise on. From the information that I gathered, it is better if we put it on towards US 41, so that everyone that's traveling that road can see it clearly.
Replace the sign that's out there now.
We'd have to replace the sign.
We want to replace the sign that's out there now.
That's currently out
On
there
River
now.
Drive.
So it's up to you where you want to put it.
But that would be the goal.
Right.
So contrary to putting it on 41, you're recommending somewhere else?
Yes, because, I mean, we have an entry sign out there now that is very old and very mundane
Mhm.
and not appealing
Not
whatsoever.
attractive at all.
And I know at some point there was a recommendation in the past to have something out by 41, but I think if you're traveling on 41, for one, if I'm traveling on 41, I'm not looking at signs. I'm looking at where I'm going, I'm looking in front of me. Whereas if you're on River Drive, coming from either direction, coming in to City Hall or coming through the neighborhood, it would be very visible out there by the road for people to see upcoming meetings, announcements and things like that. People coming in and out of City Hall would see all that. We also have the opportunity to perhaps generate some revenue from this by allowing local businesses to advertise on it. But my vision for this would be to see the big ugly concrete sign that's out there now taken away and replaced, and there is power already out there at that location.
Because at first I was thinking it'd be better to put it out on 41, but then while we were talking and thinking, if we have that sign where I'm looking at what's going on, and we have right here the crosswalk, I could see that maybe distracting people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and you're not going to be able to get it where it's really truly going to be visible from 41 because of the DOT setbacks.
Yeah, that was my other thought too. And there's the dinner bell So if it's right there, you've got the building, so,
And if you put it
That's
just
right.
facing 41, no one's ever gonna see it.
yeah. I think, unless we put it, again, I think if we put it anywhere in this section, we're distracting from when the lights are flashing and people are gonna be crossing the road to get back and forth. That would be my fear.
But if you could envision where the big concrete sign is, right here between the entrance and exit to City Hall, taking that out, and this would be double-sided. So in either direction, you're coming on River Drive, you would be able to see the display from either direction.
And one last thing, Mr. Mayor, I promise I'll be quiet. Well, not really. But the only other thing I want to make sure of is, I'm not a big fan of neon signs, I'll just tell y'all that now. But if they're facing the Dinner Bell, I call them the apartments, so the Dinner Bell Apartments, I don't want that neon sign going into those people's bedrooms. And their lights. I don't know how bright it would be. I mean, do you know what I'm saying?
I mean, I'm sure that we have the capability to only run it during the day. I mean,
Well, I can see running it. Yeah, but I mean, you know, like at 10 o'clock, it kind of shuts down. That would be my preference.
I can definitely check with the vendor and make sure.
I mean, you know what I'm saying?
And again, the vendor suggested to put it near 41 just because of the visibility, but we do have a sign in place that we should just replace. I mean,
It's
there's no reason
funny
for
that you say
changing.
that concrete sign that's out there is not attractive. I remember recently looking at it and thought it looked pretty good.
Yeah, I'd like to make a comment.
I really didn't think it looked that bad. Maybe I need to go out there and look again. I don't know.
I mean, if you look at this.
Talking about that
and
concrete that
compare-
says Dunnellon City Hall?
Yeah, but compared to this, this is much more visually appealing to me.
And not only that, but it serves a purpose.
Yeah.
Right now, the sign outside does not serve a purpose.
Well, it's
This
just like
will
what Mrs.
be showing, I'm sorry.
No, I'm
This
sorry.
will be showing, you know, our daily business information. It will be showing events that are going on. I don't know that we're going to be able to create revenue from it just because we have to make sure that we follow the legalities of it. We'll check with Andrew on that, but it's definitely a plus in the sense that it's gonna
Educate the
be,
community.
it's gonna educate the community, exactly.
Yes, Ms. Cummings.
I just think the location, not that many people are driving on River Drive that are going to see that sign. And for what these quotes are, I think it's out of line. With our budget the way it is, and we're trying to save money, whatever. I'd put it out on Pennsylvania Avenue or somewhere even. But to have this sign on River Drive, I think the sign that we have now fits its purpose.
Well, we don't,
And I just, when they built Westport High School in 2004, they probably spent $30,000 for their digital sign. At Dunnellon High School, we still have our plain old, manual sign. Same information is purveyed. People drive by and they read it. So I just don't think it's worth the expense. And especially considering the location, how many people are really going to be attentive to what's on it?
if I may comment on that, if we wanted to change the look of the city and we want to brand the city, we have to start by changing what we currently have. And I know that we're very hesitant about making purchases that are way out there, but this was budgeted, first of all. We have the budget for this sign. And secondly, if we want to change the perception of how the city looks, and we want the city to be branded, and we want the city to look attractive, we have to start by changing the signs. It's important.
I don't
And
think a neon sign, though, is part of our brand.
It's-
We're a small town.
Well, it's not a neon sign though. It's going to be a sign that is going to be out, it's a digital board that is going to be having all the information that we need the city to know about. And the reason why we want it at City Hall is because we need a sign at City Hall that is instructive and educative, you know, that it's educating people in what we're doing. I mean, we've been talking about having public involvement, having people know about what we do. Well, a kiosk with a printed agenda, I'm sorry, but that's not the best way to put it out there. If we can do a digital board where people are going to be seeing a flashing information of all that we are offering and all that we have going on in the city, it's going to attract more people. It's going to fill the board, the meetings, because people are going to be more informed about what's going on. So I think it is important. And just as a comment, and I was going to make it during my Main Street update presentation, I will make it now. As part of, as you all know, I went to this Main Street conference, and it was an eye-opener. It was beautiful, super amazing information that I got from that meeting. And the first thing that came out of one of the workshops that I attended was wayfinding signs and how important signage is for a city, and how important branding is for a city, and how important it is to have these signs not be cheap. You know, we cannot be cheap when we talk about signage for the city, because you might think it's not important, but people that come to the city, that's the first thing they see. If we don't have good signage in place, we're not really, you know, and as expensive as you think it might be, if you want quality, you gotta pay for it. That's a rule of life. You
I
have to
think,
pay for it.
Georgina, where I'm at with it is if we were going to commit to the sign, then the location of it is really critically important to make sure we don't come up with that kind of expense and it turns out to be a white elephant where everybody says, look at that sign, no one even looks at it or knows it's there. I kind of look at it a little differently. That new crosswalk that's going to be put there, the improvements that are going to be put there, the turn lanes and whatever, somehow incorporating a nice new sign there would make sense. It would go with all the new stuff that's being put in there. It would almost like it would be all a singular project working together. Crosswalk is there for a reason, because a lot of people are crossing the street, right? A lot of people are coming back and forth. People that are on foot are a lot more likely to stop and read a sign than when they're driving. So if I checked off on this from my seat, my vote, it would be very, very important where it's going to be. And I side with Councilwoman Covich putting it on River Drive. I just don't think it's going to be seen as well as we would like it to be. So that's my 2 cents.
There is a lot of traffic. There is a lot of traffic through this parking lot, a lot. We got Blue Gator using this parking lot, got voters using this parking lot. There is a lot of traffic. My window faces the parking lot, and it's constant.
All right, so there's 2 thoughts here. Number one, do we want to commit to the sign, the expense? And secondly, if we do, where's the best place for it to make sure that we're
And as
getting the
far
bang
as
for
the
our money?
expense, if I'm not mistaken, it's in CRA, right?
Yes,
And so
it's
it's
in
not money that
CRA.
can be used for, it can only be used for certain things.
It's
It
a
can't
sign
be used to pay
for,
roads.
exactly, it's a sign for the signage, for the City Hall sign, so it is there. We have it allocated for that.
Yeah. All right, so what do we, council, what do we want to, there's still a lot to be discussed here. What is staff needing us to do? To tell you to go forward and get more information, or?
Whatever you would like us to do.
Georgina, I had a question. So for the price of $33,138, does that include all of the installation, or do we still have to hire an electrician or somebody like
No.
that?
It includes everything. It includes the monument, the digital signage, the electric, the whole component.
So we don't have to, because that's just like, I don't know, one of the other men that just presented, I read in some of his paperwork that they don't install, that we'd have to get somebody else to do that. That was the first gentleman. So that's why I'm asking to say, so the 31,000 would be the whole enchilada. There's no,
That's it.
everybody does it at once.
Right,
so.
right. And it's going to take about 3 months for them to actually have it ready to do it. So
How
it's
many
not going to
months?
be 3 months.
3 months.
Yes.
But it comes from the CRA. Mr. Mayor, is your phone?
I don't know. I can't turn it off. I'll just put it on.
No, I know.
I'd like to suggest that we hold a conversation. I personally would like to do research on the price of these signs. I've just went on internet for just a short time, and so many companies out there that are producing these digital signs that we could, instead of buying the digital sign and the structure that goes around it, buy the digital sign and then go to a contractor who does bricklaying, for example, and have that done separately and possibly save 10,000, 14,000, whatever.
Well, and that's why you have me here.
Yeah. So
Because I do the research.
Yeah.
So I went and checked on the different companies and what they do and what they can offer, and this is pretty much the best.
yeah, what's the
and
size
it's
of the
local.
sign again? The dimensions are 15,
It's 115 by 89.
115 inches by
89.85.
90. Okay,
So the question, council, is we can't spend all night on this.
Correct.
Staff is looking for direction on whether to pursue this, whether we have a recommendation, which one we'd like.
And she was instructed to get these quotes. This was part of the budget from last year, and so this was something that she just didn't make this one up. The council has instructed her to do this.
Yes,
Right.
this was something that was discussed when we first started discussing the Main Street and all that.
So what are we to do now?
Well, I would recommend council to approve the 33,000 for the sign and advise on the location that you would want the sign at.
And what might be helpful there is if we could somehow get some renditions maybe of the two locations, and see visually, I guess in my mind, I can't see it out on 41, but I'm not saying it's not possible. But
We
I'm
can
just
do that.
thinking logistically, are you gonna keep the sign that we have there now and then have another city hall sign out on 41? How would it be angled? Where would it be placed? I guess we'd have to go out there and take some pictures and sort of try to create a visual.
Good idea.
So that, you know, that might make it easier for you all. If we put it here, like where I'm suggesting, what would it look like? If we put it over here, what angle would we need it at, and what would it look like? And maybe give you some visuals at the next workshop.
Thank you, Mandy. That's a great idea, and I can definitely reach out to the vendor and have them give us a rendering on that.
We definitely want it 6 foot. I'm just asking.
Yeah, that's the regular size. I mean, that's
Oh,
the
okay.
size that would be more visible. I guess.
Georgina, was that the size of the one at
Yes.
the church?
Yes,
Okay.
same exact size.
So if you go through Citrus Springs, I don't know, some of you may know where North Oak Baptist Church is in Citrus Springs.
What's the name of the church?
North Oak
North
Baptist
Oak.
Church. It's not as wide as this sign, but that's where I got the idea when we started talking about, you know, doing something out there. I was just driving through my neighborhood a couple weeks ago, and I noticed they had just put in a brand new sign, and it was gorgeous. And so they had the little stakes out there that showed, you know, who did the sign and
Yeah.
everything. So I took some pictures and sent them to Georgina, and she, made some phone calls and went out and got some quotes, one of them from this particular person, but honestly, this is a church. And, churches don't, they're not money makers, right? And they paid, I think, right around $34,000 for their sign.
They gave us the same exact,
They're not.
the same exact quote, $34,995.
I think what would really help council is if we were looking at some actual photos of things like that.
Okay.
So we can get our arms around this.
Okay.
Thank you, Georgina.
Sure.
Okay, so
my
you're going to put
pleasure.
it on the next workshop?
Yes.
Okay.
And if
Okay.
if you're willing to approve it, I can, if you're willing to move it for Monday, I can have the renderings probably to show you on Monday. And then we can finalize, decision making.
I would think this is going to draw some public comment because you're talking about CRA funds.
When's our next CRA meeting?
Monday.
No, that's right.
I mean, you're getting this right now that there's a lot of concern how we're using or how we're planning to use our CRA funds. So this topic will, once it's teed up, there's going to be public comment on it.
And if I'm not mistaken, Georgina, this is part of the CRA plan as well?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
I mean, it was written into the CRA plan. If you're gonna deviate from the CRA plan and start using the money for things that aren't already identified in the CRA plan, then you're gonna have to amend the CRA plan for that purpose.
What
Yeah,
did it
make-
say? Did it say specifically the kind of sign? What
It
does it
just
say?
says sign.
A sign.
Signage.
Signage. Well,
Yeah.
this is a big leap from that statement to specifically picking the sign.
So may I make a recommendation? I'd like to see it on the city council agenda for Monday night with the renderings, and then if we need to table it into a further workshop, then we can. Thank you.
Nothing wrong with that.
Okay.
Roll with that.
Okay. Thank you very much. Now we're going to number 7, Main Street Program Update. Georgina?
That's me again. I'm sorry, I'm taking up all your time. And I have a little presentation there. So I went to this wonderful conference last week, and it was really great. I learned a lot. And I got a lot of ideas to see if we can develop and have a great vision for our own downtown going forward. So,
Is that where you want me to start, Georgina?
sure, leave it there. So basically, as you know, we have been discussing Main Street for a while, and I was looking at the different issues that were arising with Main Street. And the last I told you all was that I was talking to legal counsel to make sure that we were doing things legally and that we were going to be moving forward and establishing Main Street again. As you know, Main Street is big on redeveloping downtowns. So what they do is they provide the roadmap to develop the entire downtown area, usually a historic district area. So we have decided that we wanted to do this in the historic district. And so the focus of Main Street is to bring all those businesses together and kind of create the scenery for more businesses to come. So it's big on attracting businesses, on attracting partners. Main Street is based on donations. So the city can donate to Main Street and partners can donate to Main Street. Part of the reorganization that we need to do for Main Street is that we need to create a vision, a mission, and a value statement, just as we were discussing for our own city. Main Street is its own entity, separate from the city. But they do require that there's a staff member paid by the city to direct Main Street. So in all these conversations, I was talking to different community leaders from different cities at the Main Street Conference, and I had a great conversation with the head of the Historic Preservation Board for the state, and she advised that the best way to establish Main Street is to create a board. That's going to be a board of 4 individuals who will be obviously regulated under sunshine law. They are going to be going to executive committees that are also going to be formed, and they're going to be going individually to these 4 committees. We're going to have, usually Main Street is composed of 4 different committees, give me just 1 second. I'm going. So the committees are the Economic Vitality, Design, Organization, and Promotion. So these executive committees are going to have people that are going to be focusing on economic vitality on one, on design on another, on organization on another, and then on promotion on another. And then out of these 4, there's going to be 1 board member that's going to take the information back to the boards and advise the boards of whatever is going on in these committees so that they can make decisions. So ultimately, the decision makers are going to be the board. And whatever monies are stipulated for different projects within Main Street are going to be coming out of an approval that the board will have to make. Main Street is going to have their own bank statement, bank account, and the board members are going to be the ones signing off on those bank accounts. So there's going to be double, triple checks on everything that is done through this board. Usually what happens is that since this Main Street board is within the historic district for the CRA, any monies that are collected or donated to Main Street are going to be directed to different projects that this executive committees are going to be focusing on. So if, let's say, the CRA wants to create parklets, which is one of the things that I'm recommending to bring into this area, then these committees are going to design how the project is going to be laid out. And then they're going to bring it to the board for the board to approve. And then the monies are going to be directed to these projects. Parklets is one of the things that I was thinking of bringing to their attention, because these are, these are structures that are done and they can be removed. They are usually placed in front of the businesses, and it creates a lot of social interactions. So Main Street is big on walkability, like as Dunn had mentioned before. And so they want to promote that. They want to promote people to walk around the neighborhood, to visit the different stores, and create that synergy among the community. So these parklets are a great example of promoting this community involvement and social interactions and all that. So it's just one of the many projects that Main Street will be working on. But just to give you a kind of a synopsis of everything, we have to create a vision, mission, and value statement. We have to create a logo, which that's the one in the middle is what I kind of came up with. But of course, that is just a draft. It will be brought in front of the board for the board to look at and decide if they want to change it or whatever the case may be. This committee is going to be separate from the city, so they'll be making these decisions based on Main Street only. It has nothing to do with anything that goes on in the city as a whole. If you go forward, and there's going to be involvement from everybody. So basically, we're going to have volunteers joining this committee. I have successfully contacted 14 people. Well, I've contacted a few more, but I'm supposed to have 14 people for the boards. They're going to be broken down into these 4 executive committees, and 4 of them are going to be part of the board. So, so I have, just one second. So I have to have, according to Main Street requirements, 2 downtown business owners, 2 downtown property owners, an employee from a bank, an employee from a hospital, an employee from a historic preservation organization, an employee from an energy company, and 2 employees from 2 large and influential corporations. So we have actually 4 people interested in being 2 of our business owners. 2 of them, one of them, for example, is Patrick Shepard. He's very, very much interested in becoming one of our Main Street heroes. And then we need to champion. That's another good word. Out of the 2 downtown property owners, we have Mr. Ross Randall, for example. He was very, very interested in becoming one of our good guys. And Cherry Adams has volunteered to be our bank contact. Dr. Riddle she's going to be donating her time also as a hospital employee. Mr. Myers and Ms. Sharkey from the Historic Society Preservation Organization are also wanting to be in the Historic Preservation as employee of the Historic Preservation. Mr. Mike Mangan from Duke Energy and Ray Johnson from Fuga are both interested in being part of it. So we will be engaging them into it as employee of energy companies. And we have 2 employees of large and influential corporations, being one is Jeff Bailey from our Comfort Inn. He's totally on board with it, super excited about it. And Mr. Alfredo Cubina is he's with the Optical Tel group, and they provide our internet, so they're wanting to be part of our board as well. We need an employee of a local school, so I reached out to Mr. Gunter. He is more than happy to join. And residents, we have Bonnie Fassett, we have Milady Cardenas, and we have Mr. Wally Dunn, who I think would be a great addition because of his expertise in accounting. So we've already reached out to him via email, and we're going to be having a first meeting with all the potential volunteers as just a regular meeting. Nothing, it's not going to happen at the city property. It's going to happen outside of city property, and it's going to be just to see if they can fill out the forms and do everything that they need to do. And at that point, decide who's going to be on the board.
Do you have a place, a location that it's going to take place?
I was talking to the chamber to see if their facility has a room, but their room is a little tiny, so I'm going to reach out to Comfort Inn because they also have a room.
And I will tell you, we can probably look at Dunnellon Presbyterian Church.
Okay, great,
We'd be happy to, we have plenty of room.
great, great.
And they
Thank
have
you.
the screens that come down and all that
Okay,
stuff.
awesome, awesome, thank you. And this is just a very preliminary meeting. Again, it's not gonna be sunshine, it's gonna be just informational to let them know what's going on, what we're gonna be doing, and then we'll take it from there. The chamber has also reached out and they want to be a part of it. So I have Judy Terrilliger and I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing names, but I have a tendency of doing that. And I also have Julie Mancini. So she's going to also be on the list of volunteers. So as you see, we are dotting every I, crossing every T, to make sure that when we lay it out,
I always say it backwards.
to make sure that when we lay out Main Street is perfect and it's following every rule, and we are confident that this is going to be a great success. So if you have any questions, let me know, but this is pretty much what I gathered from all the information in the conference in a nutshell. So I have a stack this big of business cards, and I'm using them.
Very good.
That's all I have to
I
report
also
on
heard
Main
from
Street.
Kathy Dunn how excited she was about that conference, so it must have been special.
Yes, and I was thrilled to see her there because we need all the support we can get, and her being there and seeing firsthand what Main Street can do for the city, I think was priceless.
Okay. Are you completed with number 7? Item number 7?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's make some of these good ideas happen. You heard me say it earlier today, good ideas sometimes fall by the wayside once you walk to the parking lot, right?
Right.
Unfortunately, that's how it goes. Okay, we're at number 8. It looks like this is another one, request for proposal, RFP 2022-03, wayfinding signage and maintenance services.
Yes, and as you know, we had put out the RFP, and we received two proposals. One of them came out to $220,000, but the information on the company was not there, so they didn't meet the qualifications that we asked for. And the second quote was for $451,891, which is way out of our budget. Again, I can't stress enough how important wayfinding signs are. And so I'm not saying that they're going to be $265,000, but that's what we have allocated for them. We are trying as much as we can to get a quote for a lot less than that, hopefully, so that everybody's happy. But it is important to give wayfinding signs importance, because that is what is going to brand our city, and it's going to attract businesses to come to our city.
I think, Georgina, everybody is excited about the concept. I don't think anybody really fully anticipated the expense. So let's just get it out there. Let's break it down. How many total signs are we talking about? Total signs?
Total signs are 60.
60.
Mhm.
So the 60 signs would be
That
almost
includes-
totally within the historic section,
Yes,
correct?
yes.
So we have 60 signs through the historic section.
And that's, again, putting out the roadmap for Main Street.
Okay.
We need to keep that in mind, because Main Street is coming, and this is part of it.
So the first thing people look at when they see this, they start breaking it down, and they start saying to themselves, okay, we're going to get 60 signs for $250,000. So it works out to be $4,000 per sign, and people's jaws drop and hit the floor when they see that number. It just doesn't seem, my arithmetic's right. 4,000 times 60 equals $240,000, right? So, I mean, it's just one of those things. Even myself, I mean, there's something like sticker shock, and then there's something that gives you whiplash. And it's, I mean, I look at it and say, how can it be that much?
And I understand, but if I show you the bill for Weston, boy, you're tired. It's over $1 million. And I understand we're a small city and we're trying to, you know, use the funds that we have within the small city. But then again, this is a budgeted item within the CRA, and that money is there for that. So we might as well use it. I mean, we're getting money and we have to invest it in the community. What best way to do it than to promote nice signage?
Well, and let me just, and Mr. Mayor, I agree. I mean, you know, especially $500,000 or $1 million, I mean, yes, but just the other day I was trying to buy real estate signs, just, you know, a prettier one, not just that one, but, you know, it kind of has like that arm on it and the hanging thing. Those were going to run me $100 a piece. I just had a 4x, anyway, whatever it is, 3x4, whatever, however big it is. Plus I'm getting the, you know, the framing around it. Troy saw it the other day in my office, and that cost me just at $300, just for a wood frame and a plastic sign that has my ugly picture on it for buying some vacant land. So, I mean, I get it, but even just for a little flimsy one that I buy, those, what did I do? I bought some that say for sale, and they were, again, $30 a piece. And that's the corrugated plastic and the little silver sticky thingy that we all hate and
Yeah,
despise.
we're not talking about real estate signs here. I think what we need to do is go back and talk to our neighboring cities like such as Crystal River and Williston, who have some really nice signs within their historic district, and find out where they got their signs and see if they did it as a one grand project or they divided up into several stages and used different sign companies or whatever. So I think we need to go back and do more research, see what other cities have done.
What about that company that
Yeah.
we've used in the past, that's giving, that just
Plastic
gave us a
glass.
bid?
Well, we opened up the RFP so that everyone would provide an offer, but when they saw the type of signage that we want, they don't have the capability to do that type of
Right.
sign.
That's what I figured.
You know,
Find somebody who
they're a
does.
small company, and I mean, they can do our small, but, you know, small metal signs, but they don't have the capability to put up a sign the way that we want,
Gotcha.
or the wayfinding.
Georgina, could you clarify in the agenda summary that you prepared, when you say 60 street blades, what is that?
The 60 directionals, meaning street names, like, say, West Penn, Ohio, that.
Okay, so when
So-
you say 60, are the 50 stop signs on those poles
Right.
with the street blades?
Right.
So when we're talking the metal, wrought iron, whatever the material is at each intersection,
Right, some of them are gonna have the directional sign, which is the address, pretty much, the street name.
Ohio
the street
Street.
blades.
Right, by themselves. Some of them are gonna have the stop sign with the directional sign on top. Some of them are gonna have the golf cart sign with the stop sign on top. I mean, it depends where they are and how they're structured. We're going to follow the same structure that is in place now. We're just changing the layout of the sign.
Okay, so would you say that the majority of the expense, because I know when you say signs, you think $4,000 for a sign, if that's what it comes out to be, but you're saying you're literally going to only need 60 of the fixtures in the historic district.
Right.
And then your street blades, your stop signs, your golf cart signs, your four-way, speed limit, all that's going to go on those 60.
Right, it
Right.
depends on where they are and what they have. If they have a stop sign in the directional, if they have, wherever, but it's 60 structures, 60
60 poles.
signs, 60 poles,
Okay.
including the wayfinding ones that are, there's I think 3 or 6, I'm not.
5 wayfinding, you said.
5 wayfindings, those are the ones that are gonna have the business names on.
That they pay for.
Right, that they pay for. And that's the revenue that's gonna come in, because they're gonna be putting their names on there. And we're
Okay.
gonna pay the city for that, because that's a sign that the city owns.
And maybe if in the RFP, if council authorizes us to resubmit that we clarify a breakdown of the cost, so it's clear what we're paying for the fixture itself, because I believe that is the majority of the expense, is that metal fixture.
Right, and in the RFP, when they provide the quote, we can, they're gonna have to really break it down per item.
Per item, okay.
Yeah,
And then, let's say that they're breaking it down and they're charging us $50 for a stop sign.
Mhm.
And Troy can get us a stop sign for $20. Then we just exclude that part,
Definitely.
and Troy
We can
gets
do
us our
that.
stop signs. So we can actually reduce the cost by comparing some of this stuff, like what we can get for ourselves, and based on the price that they're quoted in the RFP.
We can definitely do that. The only thing is that you have to keep in mind that these signs are gonna have borders.
They're gonna be like black and white.
So if you have the metal inside, but you're gonna have a border, which is the one that kind of brands,
Okay,
the way the sign is.
okay.
So
I just
you're-
want to make sure that we're all sharing these ideas, and council
Right,
has an idea of what we're trying to accomplish and what this really, I mean, it's not just even if it was $1,000, it's not just a stop sign like we're gonna go drive by right now and look at. There's gonna be some expense involved in it, and hopefully we can get it down to as inexpensive as we possibly can.
right. And just as the same way as the lighting in West Penn, I mean, we're gonna look at all the options and determine what is best for the city, That is our ultimate goal. So whatever that price is, it's gonna be what's the best, and that's what we're gonna present to you as a proposal.
So right now, we're not voting or you're not asking us for anything, you're just gonna go back out to RPF.
All I'm asking is for you to reject the existing RFP, the bidding that they did, and to allow me to refile the RFP, to put it back out.
That's cool.
That's reasonable. We got consensus on that?
And that can go on consent Monday, if you're okay with that.
Beautiful, thank you.
Georgina, what makes this so difficult is for people, I'm getting a lot of comments. I know when something's a hot potato by the number of phone calls and emails I get. And I'm starting to get them on this. This is CRA money. This is a big chunk of this year's CRA money to be earmarked for this one singular thing. And I've seen the signs. I know how beautiful they are. I know how it embellishes and makes an area pop. I love it. The controversy is you spend $250,000 this way at this time now. And that's what's going to be the discourse, a lot of discourse on
Right, and I think it's important that we have a vision, more than anything, and see the future, because we have been for so many years having the same signage, the same,
Everybody's been asking us for signs.
you know, and we are trying to change that, change the focus, the appearance.
And
The
the appearance of the
appearances.
downtown, and I think it's another reason it's very important to start thinking about improving the appearance of our downtown is when that multimodal path goes in, people are going to be coming from that 40-something mile trail into our downtown. You know, eventually that's going to be happening in the next few years. Once
Seems like
they
they're coming from
build that
everywhere now.
pedestrian
Yeah, exactly.
It's busy here.
I mean, from my office, you see people walking up and down the
It's busy here.
Ohio or Pennsylvania Avenue anyway. So, okay, well, good. We'll get it
Okay,
done.
very good. You finished now?
Yes,
Okay,
I am.
thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
I mean, some heady stuff. Council's had some tough decisions tonight. All right, are we at number 9 now?
I think we're number 16.
Or number 9, is this yours, Andrew?
Yes, sir, I can speak to this, and actually, I'm going to talk about 10 first instead of 9, because that's the
So we're at
kind
10?
of tier down. We're going to talk about the comp plan, and then briefly talk about the ordinance. And this isn't something that I need to spend a lot of time on, but if you want to talk about it, and if council wants to spend time on it, then obviously, no problem, I can answer any questions and talk about it as long as you all would like. But I think the concepts are, that I need to present to you are pretty simple. Where this is at right now, these 2 ordinances have been looked at by the Planning Commission. And as I understand it, of course, I wasn't at the meetings, there's a tentative approval of both these to forward them to council. These won't be on the agenda for Monday. And the reason they're not is the comprehensive plan amendment still needs a formal hearing, since it's a comprehensive plan amendment that includes a text change, since it will need to ultimately be submitted to DEO by council at a transmittal hearing and then come back. So
Refresh council non-conforming signs. What specifically are we targeting?
sure, non-conforming signs specifically, the biggest one that comes up is billboards.
Just wanted to make clear.
And so that's what's it addressing. I'm just talking about the procedure. It does require those 3 hearings, so this is something you'll see in the future. So to get to that and to actually talk about the billboards, the sign ordinance, in drafting and going through the amendments that were requested by council, one of the things that has to be done by staff is to examine the comprehensive plan. And I looked at the comprehensive plan in conjunction with staff, and there actually, in the comprehensive plan, is a provision that addresses non-conforming structures and that allows non-conforming structures that are involuntarily damaged by acts of God and disasters to be rebuilt. So a sign is a non-conforming structure. The first step in addressing billboards and non-conforming signs and buildbacks, there's only a few that currently exist, is to modify the plan to exclude them from that provision. So what the comprehensive plan amendment doesn't change anything regarding non-conforming structures other than the signage. There's an exception, and if, per the amendment, a non-conforming sign, in other words, a billboard, or other sign, there could be a few others, but billboards, like I said, are the big one. Per the proposed amendment, if it's damaged beyond 50% of its replacement value, and of course that's replacement value, so it doesn't take a whole lot of damage, then that would not be rebuilt. It also authorizes the amortization agreement. We've talked a little bit about that, period of 10 years, to try to phase them out, which requires some negotiation. So that's all going into the comprehensive plan. Now, those same provisions that I just discussed, those 2, are also within the ordinance. And this is a It's a long ordinance, but it's not a long ordinance. It's 23 pages long. It's 23 pages because there's about 5 to 6 pages of whereas clauses, maybe more. Because whenever you do a sign code, and those of you who have been in council for a long time have heard me talk about sign codes before, they all affect First Amendment speech, and so whenever you see a sign code amendment, you'll always see a ton of whereas clauses in order to clarify intent because of the regulations there. And so that's the first part of it, a lot of whereas clauses. The actual body of the ordinance, really the meat and potatoes are only about 4 or 5 pages, but it's long because the entire section of most of the sign code is in here because there's a few changes to definitions throughout. I will focus on the meat and potatoes and get down to the bottom here. The kind of regulations that you're going to see in here, now I mentioned some of the definitions, an updated definition for billboard, as well as for non-conforming signs. And when we get down to billboards, as I stated, the amortization procedure that is in the proposed comprehensive plan amendment is included within the ordinance. And there's a section specifically related to non-conforming signs, which addresses those thresholds I discussed in the event of damage due to acts of God, natural disasters, requirements that any signs that are moved that are non-conforming be brought into conformance with the sign code, regulations regarding repairs, regulations regarding maintenance. In addition to that, there is a specific section regarding maintenance of all signs, so that anybody who has a sign understands very clearly what the maintenance requirements are per the city. That was one of the things that I discussed with council earlier before crafting this ordinance. A general violations provision, a provision regarding immediate removal of unsafe signs, provisions regarding removal of abandoned signs, removal of signs erected without a permit, and a severability section. And so that is what you'll be seeing after the Planning Commission's comprehensive plan hearing.
So we really don't have to do anything right now, just have
No, this is purely
Okay.
informational, so you can see the ordinances if you have any comments or questions for me. That's the purpose of it, or if there's anything that you would like to see changed in a preliminary nature. In any case, you'll get that bite of the apple formally when it comes to you in the future. But during this workshop, if there was something that stuck out to you that you'd like to see changed prior to the next Planning Commission meeting, that's something that we can do. So that's all I have. If you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer them.
Andrew, when is this scheduled for the Planning Commission public hearing? Is that this month?
The 16th.
I believe it's next week.
So
Or
was
the
that
16th.
advertised?
Pardon me.
Did that have to be advertised?
Yes, it was.
Okay. So it will come to council for transmittal public hearing in September?
Can.
Okay.
Okay, Andrew, does that cover 9 and 10?
That covers them both, sir.
Good job.
Excellent.
So now we're number 16.
All right, hang in there, we're getting there. Okay, number 11, as we previously discussed, has been tabled to another time. I'm also on number 12 because it would require some discussion, and we're going to table this one, Randy, to the next workshop.
Okay, you want to table this to the next
Yeah.
workshop?
Basically, so you know what's coming, we have wordage in our code of conduct on elections that needs to be removed or whatever. We need to address anonymous letters that are sent, reading them into the record when they're anonymous. Giving staff some idea how to schedule presentations, how many in one particular meeting. Been a lot of requests for presentations. And then evaluations, we all know that there was evaluation done by us, and there was an attempt to override the evaluation. I think that needs to be addressed. I think once council turns in its evaluations and the tabulations are sent in, there should not be an attempt by council to negate the overall consensus of the council. Kind of makes it, why are we doing this if we can just reverse it because we don't agree with it? So anyway, those will be part of what we discuss. And we'll table that for the next one. Mandy?
Okay.
Okay. All right, so we went through 11, 12, real quick right there. Now we're at number 13, the city clerk evaluation. Mandy, I guess you're the one that's going to handle that, correct?
Yes, sir. That was sent out to you all this afternoon after I compiled all 5 of the evaluations for you to have it in one document and merge the rankings and everything into one document. So between now and Monday, you all can take a look at that and make sure all of your comments were included, and then we will have it on the council meeting agenda for Monday for council to consider it for approval. And if you want, we can put it on the regular agenda in case you want discussion. It can go on the consent agenda, but...
Go ahead and put it on consent, and any council member can remove it if they want to.
Okay.
Correct. Okay. Are we actually done with 13?
Yes, and one more thing, because y'all have asked that we put our department reports toward the beginning of the agenda rather than at the end, after the board reports and chamber report. I'd like to ask that if we're having presentations at a meeting, that it come after presentations, so we're not holding up a guest.
I would agree.
Okay.
I apologize 2 or 3 times to our guests having to wait. We're just working out the bugs.
Yeah.
All right, we're changing things a little bit. Everybody good with that?
That's
Let
fine.
the presentation. All right.
That peanut butter jelly of mine at 2:30 is worn off, that's all I can
Yeah,
show y'all.
that means you agree. Okay.
I like it, let's go.
All right, we're at number 14, council comments. Coverage.
I can't think of any at the moment.
Okay. Don't look at me that way. Do you have any comment? No. Vice Mayor?
I just wanted to thank our police department. There was that horrible accident in Troy. There was that horrible accident the other day on Ohio Street, and the police, I ran to the back door, knocking on the door, and even though I was out of breath, they understood what I was saying, and they jumped on it. Troy was already there. He'd already informed staff about what was going on. So just a great teamwork by all of our employees, and sorry that the accident happened, but definitely think it's not any fault of ours or the FGUA people. So anyway, good job on both of their parts. Thank you, Troy. Thank you, Chief or Lieutenant.
Very good. Just 2 comments. I do have some appointments scheduled within the next couple weeks to go speak with Marion County Commissioner Curry and Zalek to try to get their positions on the Northern Turnpike extension. I do understand that DOT, if they haven't already, that they're getting ready to make some sort of announcement on the Northern Turnpike extension. It may be something we want to hear. I don't know exactly what the specifics, but I've been privy to know that something's in the works, some announcement is ready to be made. My phone's been beeping as Vice Mayor, and that was what it was related to. Everybody's trying to tell me what the news flash is. So it's supposed to be something good, but we'll see. And then one thing, Bandy, please, I know it's in the budget, let's get our speaker system up to speed in here when people call in and whatever, and they're trying to speak. I mean, it's really difficult to hear what they have.
We do, we have some money budgeted for that.
All right, so let's, if there's money we're going to spend, let's get that done. We really need to, it's just, it just doesn't come across right. All right, that's my comments. City Attorney comments?
Yes, Council, I just have one, and that is an update for you on looking at park regulations and some of the issues down at the boat ramp as far as boating traffic, kayak traffic, and just use. Just a few weeks ago, I met with staff, and we discussed just splitting up sort of a task list of things to look at. So what staff is looking at are potential specific rules to alleviate some of the traffic that we've seen down at the boat ramp during the summer season, including site plans for future amenities and how that particular area may develop and be improved in the future to service that and to provide amenities at the park. Some of the other things staff is taking a look at is how Marion County works with their commercial passes and how franchise agreements work. If you recall, that's something I discussed with you that I think would probably work very well for the city. Crystal River already has a model and has some franchise agreements in place. So staff is working on getting a hold of those franchise agreements so we can see how they're constructed and see what works for Dunnellon, what doesn't, and what we would recommend council consider and options for council to consider. So that includes looking at their ordinance, looking at regulations that are specific to other parks within the city, and if there are any special needs that some of the parks that don't have regulations now might need, as well as an overarching system, something we discussed, regulations that can be applicable to all parks. And that really is already in place with Blue Run Park. Most likely would just entail pulling that out and moving it so it covers everything, and just keeping the rules that are in place at Blue Run Park right where they are. In addition to that, as I understand it, FCT is going to be getting back with staff regarding their review of what was submitted to them for Blue Run Park, so that's also forthcoming. Getting back to the general park rules, some of the other things staff is looking at are suggestions on how to best address parking within the trailer area, any changes that the city may need to make to its code. And I will be looking at the Crystal River agreements when they do come in from Crystal River, and I'm looking also at regulations in the Tampa and West Palm metropolitan areas, anything that may be pertinent that could improve the city's park ordinances. So that's all I have to report.
Excellent. Before we go to the public comments, those of you that are kind of hanging in here, and you listen to this agenda we're going through, this council is really tackling a whole lot at one time. I mean, we are in basketball, we are in a full court press, pushing it. So I'm very proud of this council and our staff. There's plenty to do right now, and plenty more to do, and some tough decisions to come up. So with that said, we go to number 16, public comments. Would anybody like to speak? Mr. Fisher. I don't get to see you too much lately.
You looking spiffy this evening.
Some of you may not remember who I am, so.
You are unforgettable, sir.
Art Fisher, 11897 North Ohio Street. Mr. Mayor, Council, and Attorney, thank you very much for what you're doing. We don't all have to agree on every issue. If we did, we would need all of you. But sincerely, thank you. And most importantly, the staff deserves a great deal of credit, and I know we all appreciate that, but it's like going home to your spouse and telling them you love them. It's always nice to hear it, and so thank you all very much. Have a good evening. I'd like to talk to you.
Did you put that down
Thank you.
Did y'all just put that down in history?
I don't have my ears. Someone talking to me?
That was short.
Thank you so much.
Hell,
for
I
this.
should have known.
Thank you. He sat here for 4 hours to tell us that. That's wonderful.
Awesome, isn't it? Love him.
That's great. All right, anyone else that would like to make, Tim, have at it.
And now, Tim, you saw how short that was.
No, I'd like to thank Artie, saved me 30, 60 seconds, whatever it was. I agree with everything he said.
You got your full time, have at it. You got notes.
After going through the budget, the itemized detail budget and the summary a couple times, the idea that I liked is what Jan spoke of, was shoot for the 6.3 millage rate and let us know if it doesn't work and why. I was really hung up on the 6.1 after going through budgets, talking with folks and stuff like that. I don't think 6.1 is really going to be achievable, but I do think 6.3 is achievable. And not just saying that, with math, I believe it. Now on the wayfinding signs, okay, my opinion is we need business plans, not trust me, not look at this, look at that, and I am not disparaging anybody, okay? It's just seems to be the way government works. Every successful business, the engineering department, whomever it is, produces to the vice presidents, the money folks, a business plan. Otherwise, you don't even show up. We've been putting a lot of dollars into the historic district over the last decade that I've been paying attention to, and there's not been any noticeable improvements. There's definitely not been any return on the taxpayer investment that's gone in there. And it was mentioned everyone's asking for signs. I'm going to tell you, I probably spoke to 20, 30 people that are just normal working taxpayers. They don't only dislike the number about the signs and do not think it's the right time to put the signs. It's kind of like putting icing on the cake before the cake's even done. They don't only say they're very, very upset. I mean, they get angry right away. So there seems to be a disconnect there. Okay, now I'm going to switch to the digital sign for here. With the social media, et cetera, less than 2,000 residents, I don't see this $33,000 expenditure doing anything for 99% of the people. That's 6 businesses that could each get $5,000 in the historic district for improvements, where it'll probably have a greater impact. And thank you all very much.
Thank you. You didn't give your name and address.
Oh my gosh. After all these times. Tim Miskey, 12140 Maple Street, Dunnellon. Thank you, Brenda.
Go, Brenda.
Top that.
They're tired, Brenda.
Would anyone else like to speak? Here's your chance. We had a lot of comments. Okay, yes.
I have 2 people on Zoom.
Oh, my goodness. All right, have at it.
Hello.
Dave Coder here, 11983 Palmetto Way, Dunnellon, Florida. One thing I would like to say is that our Constitution grants us to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I think item number 10 on the agenda regarding billboards and signs, if a business puts up a sign that becomes a threat to the community, I think the community will let them know about it. If they do something that causes harm to the community, they will get their butts sued. So I think the city needs to stay out of it and let people have their own right to free speech and to control of their own property and the consequences for the things they do. So, enough said for that. What I would like to say is thank you very much for our staff at the city. Thank you very much for the city commission, and as you guys have gone over and beyond what you originally agreed to when you took the position that you're taking. And with regards to the signage issue, I'm going to go down and see Troy and volunteer to help them. But there's a proof. I've been in the sign and the road and bridge business for years.
there's approved DOT contractors that produce signs at reasonable prices. And the other thing is that if businesses want to enhance their business, they need to budget in their own budget things that will increase participation to their business. It's not the city's responsibility to do that for them. It's their responsibility to take that on themselves, to do things that will enhance their business. It's not the city's responsibility. So I just want to let you guys know anytime Troy wants some help, I'll be glad to volunteer my services for each time. I'll give you a list of approved sign contractors in the state of Florida, and I'm sure that we can come up with a cheaper price than going to outside sources to do. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. We have one more?
Troy, the camera was on you.
He was smiling. Kathy, are you there?
Yes, Kathy Dunn, 1386 Hendricks Drive. For a couple of years, I have been talking about how the Community Revitalization Board has been not run very well as far as citizen input. I know citizens can come, but I don't think they understand the importance of the $700,000 of our disposable income in that fund, how important that money is and how hard it is to get back once we spend it. I just think that if we earmark that, it can be